Chapter 1739. Countless red flame demons landed on the ground and surrounded the mysterious formation, forming an impenetrable defense. With a rough estimate, there were more than 1,000 of them. With Senior Ma and Senior Lu's teams combined, there were only slightly more than 100 people under them. There was also that mysterious black-armored cultivator. His eyes shone with a frightening black flame. He was tall and stout, at least 3 meters tall. As he stood in the center, he held a spear in his hand, exuding a tyrannical air that overlooked everything. That is a middle-stage star venerate. Senior Ma's face sank slightly as he looked at that black-armored cultivator. His voice trembled somewhat. An early-stage star venerate and a middle-stage star venerate were two completely different levels, a world of difference. Senior Ma was well aware of this difference. He had been stuck at early-stage star venerate for more than 100 years already, unable to cross this hurdle. Aside from that, there were 10-odd elites among the 1,000-odd red flame demons. The auras they gave off rivaled those of star venerates, not weaker at all. As Xiaochen looked at that black-armored cultivator, he felt startled. The other party actually had dragon might. That was bona fide dragon might. Not the dragon might brought out by some cultivation technique, martial technique, or profound tool. Instead, it was a genuine dragon might that came from his bloodline. Is he a member of the dragon race? However, that does not feel like it. That dragon might also contained many evil auras that were not pure at all. It was extremely strange. This place is becoming increasingly strange. Xiaochen somewhat wanted to linger here. However, the blue dragon totem in the middle of the formation was hard to ignore. Xiaochen was already certain that this place had something to do with the blue dragon bloodline. As the last person of the blue dragon bloodline, Xiaochen could not leave here, no matter what. There should be other factions involved. Senior Lu's and Senior Ma's teams discovered the underground dragon city because of the dragon chi. This was definitely not a coincidence. This faux god flame tainted with a demonic nature purposely leaked the dragon chi. Otherwise, why had no one discovered this dragon city in the past tens of thousands of years? Why did it get discovered so easily? There had to be other factions that discovered the dragon chi by chance. Then, they thought that they got lucky and got lured into the dragon city. As Xiaochen guessed, the sound of intense fighting suddenly came from the other side of the plaza. Kill! A thunderous roar resounded. The lineup of that group was even stronger than Senior Ma's and Senior Lu's teams combined. He entered the dragon city from another direction, then killed his way over, and entered the Dragon Clan Plaza. Upon seeing the nearly extinguished faux god flame, Xiaochen immediately charged over without hesitation. Help is coming. Senior Ma and Senior Lu exchanged looks with one another, joy on their faces. At this time, the helper that came to kill was really a great help. When the strange black-armored cultivator saw the forces charging at him, his lips curled up in a cruel smile. Dragon God's light. Xiaochen swung his spear, and a dragon image came out of the black faux god flame. After the dragon shadow circled once, it turned into a ray of light and shot out. When the red flame devils below were hit by this wave of light, they instantly turned into black flame devils, and their strength doubled. Damn it, what's going on? The group, which was originally full of vigor and murderous intent, was immediately thrown into chaos. Waves of miserable shrieks rang out. Pear Blossom Storm. The young disciple leading the group swung his sword, and the cold energy at the tip of his sword became extremely concentrated. The cold energy turned into thin ice needles that filled the sky, looking like a torrential rain. The ice needles shot out in rings, looking like a blooming pear blossom. The thin ice needles pierced several flame devils, and their movements immediately turned chaotic. Cold chi spread out, and a thin layer of ice covered their surfaces. Retreat. The young swordsman shouted coldly the moment he executed his killing move. That group of people quickly took the opportunity to retreat. Crack! Crack! In the next moment, the frozen flame devils recovered. The few cultivators who could not retreat in time died miserably on the spot. This powerful team had lost more than a dozen martial artists in a single exchange. The young swordsman's expression turned scarily sullen. Clearly, he could not accept such a loss. After the group retreated from the plaza, The black-armored cultivator controlled the flame devils to retreat as well, not giving chase. It's the disciples of the rank 5 Snow Sword Palace. Senior Ma and Senior Lu recognized this group of people at the same time, and their expressions changed slightly. The other side is a fellow cultivator from Dragon Flame City. I am the Snow Sword Palace's true inheritor, Huang Puqi. I brought my junior brothers here on experiential training. Can we work together and break this place? Just as Senior Ma and Senior Lu hesitated, the young swordsman's voice rang out. If you want to work together, count me in. The bamboo hat bladesman said coldly as he flew out from a corner of the plaza. He seemed to have arrived long ago. All right, count you in. The Snow Sword Palace's Huang Puqi could tell with one glance that this bamboo hat bladesman's strength could not be underestimated, so he immediately agreed. Senior Ma and Senior Lu immediately felt a mountain-like pressure. At this moment, they had no choice but to agree. If they did not agree, when these two sides worked together to break this flame demon formation, they would not be able to say anything. The various factions immediately reached a simple consensus. They agreed to work together to deal with this group of flame devils. Then they would discuss how to split the faux god flame and the blue dragon totem. After resting for a while, the various factions charged in together. With 3 factions working together with the mysterious bamboo hat bladesman, their strength naturally could not be underestimated. The members of Senior Lu's and Senior Ma's teams were the outstanding talents of the nearby dozens of clusters. At the very least, they were on the same level as Shangguan Lei. As for the Snow Sword Palace, their strength went without saying. They were disciples of a rank 5 sect. Every grade in a sect was like a layer of heaven, like the difference between clouds and mud. An intense battle could break out at any moment. To catch bandits, first catch the ringleader. The Snow Sword Palace's Huang Puqi fixed his gaze on the tall, mysterious, and unfathomable black-armored cultivator. Then he thrust his sword over. The bamboo hat bladesman, Senior Ma, and Senior Lu, the strongest 4, worked together to fight the flame demon. The other cultivators worked together to fight the flame demon. The eyes of the cultivators who entered the plaza turned scarlet, all of them burning with true rage. Some of them even went berserk. The black flame on the totem seemed both solid and illusory, flickering with a strange light. It was like a cold eyeball, coldly watching the battle below. Xiaochen did his best to maintain a calm state of mind aside from protecting himself. The situation turned increasingly strange and chaotic, leaving him somewhat helpless and at a loss as to what to do. As the battle continued, there were casualties and blood flowed everywhere. No one noticed that the formation in the center of the plaza absorbed all the blood that fell to the ground. However, the people in the intense battle could not care about this. The faux god flame bewitched them, triggering the desire and murderous intent in their hearts. As the cultivators with great desolate Aeon bloodlines activated their bloodlines, the atmosphere of the intense battle slowly reached a climax. Why did the human cultivators still have such confidence despite being outnumbered? The main reason was that most of the cultivators here had great desolate Aeon bloodlines. After activating their bloodlines, their strength multiplied. Kill, kill, kill. After fighting for half a day, the number of flame demons dropped from the original 1,000 to 300. Then the human cultivators fell into a complete disadvantage. The human cultivators fought with all their might, becoming more valiant as they fought. They no longer held back their various killing moves. Shock waves surged in the plaza, resounding endlessly. Mysterious phenomena appeared. Wind, fire, thunder, and lightning roared ferociously. The 1,000-odd flame demons finally died out. The Dragon Race Plaza was littered with rare black flame crystals. However, no one bothered to pick them up. At the same time, the black-armored cultivator held up his spear and entered the formation, his body riddled with wounds. Huang Puqi, the bamboo hat bladesman, Senior Ma, and Senior Lu were in poor states as well, all of them significantly injured. After paying a heavy price, the human cultivators finally managed to force the flame demons into the formation. With the 3 clans working together, the human cultivators finally gained the upper hand. Humph! If you are smart, scram quickly. Otherwise, I will take your life the next time. The snow sword palace's Huang Puqi stood outside the formation, coldly eyeing the black-armored cultivator and the final 100 flame demons. The black-armored cultivator laughed. Ha ha ha. The dragon god is about to appear. I will let you all suffer the rage of the dragon god first. The rage of the dragon god. Whoosh. The strange faux god flame above the blue dragon totem flickered ferociously, and a divine might burst out. Rumble. Everyone present, including Xiao Chun, was caught off guard, suffering a heavy blow to their chests. Xiao Chun vomited a mouthful of blood as he got knocked back. This was a complete suppression of strength. No one could block it or break it, only passively accepting it. Chapter 1740. Huang Puqi and the others got knocked into the air again. This time, they were even more severely injured than the first time. Dragon God's rage. Seeing the black-armored cultivator flee, the others' expressions immediately changed. This black-armored cultivator could control the faux god flame. He definitely had a big secret on him. Kill. These people were all Star Venerate level experts, especially Huang Puqi, a true inheritor of a rank 5 sect. Everyone could guess that this item had a strong connection to the faux god flame. A miserable shriek rang out. This saber strike struck the black-armored cultivator first. More importantly, that faux god flame gave off a divine might. Senior Ma and the others were not willing to fall behind. Fearing that the black-armored cultivator would snatch away the faux god flame after he died, they all followed. When the middle stage Star Venerate black-armored cultivator worked together, he was not a match for them. After all, he was not like the sect disciples who knew so many martial techniques, grasped Dao tools, and had all sorts of trump cards. Xiao Chun, hand it to me. That saber strike layered hell in the mortal world, showing a tyrannical attitude of controlling hell and life and death. Rumble. The injured people closed their eyes and treated their injuries. No one cared about Xiao Chun, who was moving stealthily. Their bodies stiffened, and their movements slowed. They showed pained expressions, and frost covered their lips. Boom. The faux god flame's divine might reappeared. Ice sealing chop. After a moment of shock, Senior Ma revealed joy on his face. It was someone from his team. After harvesting 1,000 black blaze crystals, Xiao Chun revealed a smile. He looked around before arriving at a shadowy place in a flash. This old man still had a killing move that I had not used earlier. When my veritable essence energy recovers, I will make my move. After activating the faux god flame, Rang, who was in the formation, vomited large mouthfuls of blood. His aura weakened continuously. What should I do? This black-armored cultivator can actually communicate with the power of the faux god flame. It will be somewhat problematic to kill him like this. 8 strands of sword chi connected from head to tail formed a horrifying ice sword chi seal. Pressing towards the black-armored cultivator, the bamboo hat bladesman released a dark light from his body. Then he gently swung his saber. Under the awe of the divine might, only a few people were able to remain standing after being sent flying. An incomparably terrifying killing intent radiated from his body. It was an extremely cold and emotionless killing intent. Before the black-armored cultivator, who had fled far away, could continue fleeing, his head suddenly flew off. Kill. I don't believe that there are no side effects when he controls the faux god flame. The 3 factions gathered the people who could still fight and discussed how to kill the black-armored cultivator. Prepare to attack. There was also the hidden bamboo hat bladesman, who no one could figure out. He was equally terrifying. Huang Puqi and the others gathered together. Their expressions were grave as they discussed in low voices. Xiao Chun sheathed his saber. Then he stretched out his hand and grasped the item. Dragon scale? This time, everyone was determined to kill the black-armored martial artist. His accumulations and strength were much deeper than Senior Ma's and Senior Lu's. The black-armored cultivator seemed to have gone crazy. After he got up, he suddenly fled, shouting nonstop. Cracks appeared on the black-armored cultivator's tough skin. Black blood leaked out as he shrieked miserably. Huang Puqi was somewhat distracted as he watched. He did not dare to imagine that the bamboo hat bladesman could send out such a saber strike. This move of Huang Puqi forcefully brought out 30% of the Dao tool's might. Then, he used it together with his horrifying sword intent. He brought out a heaven-ranked divine skill that was second only to the primogenitor-grade cultivation technique and its derivative cultivation techniques. He perfectly merged the ice great Tao with his sword intent. After that, they discussed how to split the foe god flame. This saber strike covered up all the ice covering the entire plaza. The entire dragon race plaza shook even more intensely, and terrifying cracks appeared. Pussy. Just at this moment, Xiaochen moved silently. He swept away all the black flame crystals that no one was paying attention to. It was weakening at a speed visible to the naked eye. However, after Xiaochen landed, he did not fall either. It's you. This attack contained a lot of dragon might. Its destructive power could not be as great as that of the others. Acting all mysterious. There are no longer any gods or demons in this world. Speak. Where exactly are you from? Everyone fell to the ground. No one was spared. Even the cultivators treating their injuries in the periphery of the plaza were affected. Naturally, those who could remain standing were all peak experts who were equal to Star Venerates or as strong as Star Venerates themselves. The dragon god is about to appear. The dragon god is about to appear. When Huang Puqi swung his saber, it was like hell reappeared in the mortal world. The pitch-black saber light layered over the void. This saber strike was like the 18 layers of purgatory shooting out. The black-armored cultivator, who had just struggled free of the 8 strands of sword qi, could not resist in time. He got knocked back again step by step. At the same time, Senior Ma, Senior Lu, Lung Feng, Xiahou Feng, and the Snow Sword Palace Corps disciples all unleashed their killing moves. Standing outside the blood formation, Huang Puqi swung his sword in reverse and knocked the black-armored cultivator, who was at the end of his rope, into the blue dragon totem. Anyone who could obtain the foe god flame would naturally reach the heavens in one step. That was a great fortuitous encounter that could change anyone's fate. Just like that, Huang Puqi silently collected thousands of precious black flame crystals. However, that black-armored cultivator was even more severely injured. Seeing Xiaochen suddenly charge out and obtain the mysterious item, Huang Puqi and the others rushed over in a fluster. They wanted to snatch that foe god flame at the last moment. The terror of this move was startling, inspiring fear in Senior Ma and Senior Lu. Severing the 7 emotions, severing the 6 desires, turning into an Azura, materializing hell in the mortal world. Azura hell. The black-armored cultivator took out a carving knife and focused, starting to carve seriously. Xiaochen raised his eyebrows and said playfully, "Why should I hand it to you? Just because you cheated me of 1 million medial-grade spirit jades? Or to repay your earlier threat to take my treasures?" The black-armored cultivator staggered, and black blood spurted out of his body. Senior Ma, Senior Lu, the bamboo hat bladesman, Lung Feng, Xiahou Feng, Huang Puqi, and a few elites of the rank 5 sect, the Snow Sword Palace, all fell apart. The armor on the black-armored cultivator's body shattered into pieces, completely destroyed. However, the black-armored cultivator could actually use the energy of the foe god flame. This was somewhat difficult to deal with. Before the 8 strands of sword qi connected from end to end landed, cold qi already invaded the black-armored cultivator's body. At this moment, everyone who could fight followed Huang Puqi to surround and attack the black-armored cultivator. Indeed, he cannot keep using the energy of the foe god flame. If he does it again, he will definitely die. See you. Half a day later, everyone returned to their peak states. Huang Puqi recovered his wits and withdrew his sword. Then, the 8 strands of sword qi containing the ice great Tao ruthlessly pressed down. In that instant, the tyrannical Huang Puqi snorted coldly and took the lead to charge over. Unexpectedly, the foe god flame is still so mighty even though it is nearly extinguished. After a while, a black object fell from the sky. Kassier. Huang Puqi's expression turned solemn as his long hair fluttered. Suddenly, 8 strands of ice sword qi connected from end to end appeared behind him. The sword in Huang Puqi's hand hummed in the air, and a hazy sword intent surged out in all directions. The icy sword qi continuously killed the black-armored cultivator, completely sealing him at the same time. The entire plaza shook intensely. Ice and snow fell, and a chill assaulted everyone. Then, the black-armored cultivator knelt on the ground and smiled coldly as he looked at the crowd. The dragon god is about to appear. All of you will suffer the rage of the dragon god. The black-armored cultivator's entire body turned into a burning black flame. However, no one expected the hidden bamboo hat bladesman to follow up with an even more terrifying saber move. No one could resist the temptation of the faux god flame. After him. He is going to flee. The bamboo hat formed a terrifying seal, trying to suppress the black-armored cultivator. It was a black dragon scale that looked incredibly heavy and gave off an ancient aura. When Huang Puqi saw this scene, he could not help rejoicing. At this moment, Senior Ma and Senior Lu also slowly got to their feet, a brilliant light shining in their eyes. The black-armored cultivator's expression remained normal, not even a drop of blood on his lips. He had already condensed all the dragon bones in his body. His defense already rivaled that of a star venerates, perhaps even stronger. The black-armored cultivator knocked into the air and fell to the ground, severely injured and unable to continue fighting. After a moment of silence, the bamboo hat bladesman said, "Even if we do it again, I will not hold back." Senior Ma felt stifled. He could not help trembling in anger. Then he pointed at Xiao Chun and said, "You have to hand it over whether you want to or not." The ice attributed great Dao energy from the Dao tool in Xiao Chun's hand spread out in all directions. Then it ferociously gathered on the sword. Xiao Chun could only close his eyes and rest, treating his injuries where he stood. The Snow Sword Palace's Huang Puqi stood up. The saber in his hand flickered with a crystalline cold light. What saber technique is this? It looks like it's about to be extinguished. I'm afraid it won't be extinguished within 100 years. Chapter 1741. Senior Ma felt flustered and exasperated. He could not help showing a ferocious side, threatening Xiao Chun. "Interesting. You are sneaking around here, waiting for us to fight this black-armored cultivator until we are half dead, but you hide here and take advantage of us. Do you think that you, an insignificant major primal core venerate, can take advantage of us?" Senior Lu chimed in from the side, showing a mocking expression as he looked at Xiao Chun. "Young man, don't use your cleverness on this. Any one of us can smack you to death with one slap. Be wise and quickly hand over that thing." Huang Puqi and the others showed calm expressions as they looked coldly at Xiao Chun. They did not care about Xiao Chun at all. He was just a major primal core venerate, and yet he wanted to take advantage of us. He should first look at his own capabilities first. Lung Feng frowned and said, "Brother Xiao, now is not the time for you to be willful. If you do not shout now, young Master Huang Puqi will get angry later. Senior Ma and I will not be able to protect you." As Xiao Chun looked at these people, he revealed a smile. "Who should I hand it to?" "What nonsense. Of course me," Senior Ma said bluntly without even thinking about it. Right after Senior Ma spoke, he felt that something was wrong. A few hostile gazes landed on Senior Ma. This was especially so for Huang Puqi. An indistinct killing chi flashed in his eyes, sending a chill down Senior Ma's spine. Senior Ma quickly changed the topic, saying, "Hand it to us for safekeeping. In any case, it cannot remain in your hands." "Who are you?" "I'm asking who to hand it to." As Xiao Chun looked at Senior Ma, the playful smile on his face did not diminish. Huang Puqi coughed discreetly, making his presence known. His junior brothers behind him immediately said, "Of course, hand it to our senior brother. Our senior brother is the Snow Sword Palace's true inheritor. He is the strongest and contributed the most. Who else is more suitable than him? Whoever dares to compete with our senior brother is opposing the Snow Sword Palace." The common enemy was dead, an internal strife arose. At this moment, human nature showed itself without a doubt. Upon hearing what the Snow Sword Palace disciples said, Lung Feng and the others showed uncomfortable expressions. "You speak as though we did not contribute at all," Xiahou Feng said indifferently. "Strongest? Haha." The bamboo hat bladesman laughed coldly, full of mockery. Xiao Chun looked on coldly, sneering in his heart. He had long known that this group of people would not be united. "Young Master Huang Pu, I think this guy is here to make fun of us and cause a fight between us. Why don't we just kill it and make a conclusion about the mysterious item?" Killing intent flashed in Old Ma's eyes as he suddenly spoke. The argument immediately stopped, and everyone's gaze returned to Xiaochen. They suddenly realized that this guy was a little too calm. With just a few words, he managed to divert the conflict. His means were not ordinary. Xiao. All of a sudden, Old Ma's figure moved. His entire body was overflowing with killing intent as he directly attacked Xiaochen. He soared into the air and struck out with his palm, causing a strong gust of wind to blow. The might of a star venerate ruthlessly surged towards Xiaochen. When the palm strike landed, it was like a mountain pressing down on Xiaochen. Combined with the aura of a star venerate, this sudden attack looked boundlessly tyrannical. In everyone's eyes, it looked like Xiaochen would be smashed into meat paste in the next moment, dying without a complete corpse. Xiaochen smiled coldly, and his figure wavered. In the next moment, he suddenly turned into a 3-kilometer-tall giant. Buddhist major magic skill, Dermic World. This greatly startled Huang Puqi and the others. They retreated in a fluster. Old Ma was immediately stupefied. Xiaochen's figure suddenly vanished from his vision, and a wall appeared in front of him. When Old Ma looked up, before he could react to what was going on, Xiaochen ruthlessly kicked him down. Rumble! Loud sounds rang out endlessly, and the entire plaza shook. A terrifying aura spread out from Xiaochen's body. This flabbergasted Huang Puqi and the others. They had not expected Xiaochen to have such a killing move. By the time Xiaochen recovered his original form, Old Ma was already lying half dead on the ground. All the bones in his body were shattered, and he was in so much pain that he wanted to die. If not for Old Ma being a star venerate, after Xiaochen executed Dermic World, this kick would have taken his life. Old fogey, you are not stupid. However, you think too highly of yourself. Xiaochen kicked again, mercilessly sending Old Ma flying. Just at this moment, something strange happened. Severely injured but not dead, Old Ma used all his might in the air and flipped around ferociously. Old Ma's entire body was covered in blood and wounds, looking very miserable. Old Ma's repulsive old face now looked even uglier. He looked at Xiaochen crazily and said, "Die for this old man." Boom. The will of soul from a star venerate shot out from Old Ma's forehead. Immediately, an invisible will merged with the world, carrying a supreme might as it surged toward Xiaochen. Under the impact of this will of soul, the floor of the Dragon Race Plaza exploded and went flying back. Kasie. The will of soul pressed towards Xiaochen step by step. Xiaochen's face sank. He did not dare to be careless. The will of soul of a star venerate entered the depths of the soul. The will of soul was the greatest reliance of a star venerate. Before advancing to star venerate, there was practically no means that could resist it. This had forced Xiaochen into a sorry state many times in the past. Xiaochen had long since comprehended the might of the will of soul. However, this time he did not believe it. Xiaochen pushed back with his right foot and ferociously stabbed the tyrant saber's scabbard into the ground with one hand. Dang! The moment the scabbard stabbed into the ground, two Dao discs appeared behind Xiaochen. One was the saber Great Dao, and the other was the tyrant saber's Thunder Dao. The saber Great Dao. Startled cries immediately rang out. No one expected Xiaochen to have comprehended a complete Dao already. Furthermore, it was the saber Great Dao that many bladesmen dreamed of. A look of envy flashed in Huang Puqi's eyes. Huang Puqi relied on a Dao tool to comprehend his Ice Dao. Even now, he had not comprehended the Sword Dao. Now, in this insignificant place, he actually saw an unknown minor character comprehend the saber Great Dao, which was even harder to comprehend. This was simply incredible. As a true inheritor of a rank 5 sect, Huang Puqi had not even comprehended the Sword Dao. The two Dao might layered over each other and merged into one, clashing with that terrifying will of soul. The Dao might clashed with the will of soul, but it was still slightly weaker. However, that was a will of soul that no one under Star Venerate could block. In the end, Xiaochen forcefully blocked it. Chi. Xiaochen moved back step by step, continuously drawing a crack in the ground with the scabbard. Xiaochen clenched his teeth, and the 206 dragon bones in his body crackled like a dragon roar. The blue dragon's dragon might surged out, supported by the two Dao might. The berserk dragon might felt humiliated, and it roared uncontrollably. Bang! The terrifying will of soul exploded and directly scattered. Senior Ma, who was in the air, vomited another mouthful of blood as he went flying back. His eyes filled with disbelief. How can this be? To think that someone under Star Venerate can block the will of soul. That is the will of a Star Venerate, compatible with the world and carrying the power of the universe. When Senior Ma landed, he had lost all combat prowess. He was at a loss, feeling horrified. Clap. Clap. Huang Puqi suddenly clapped his hands and smiled. Not bad. You can defeat a Star Venerate with the strength of a major primal core Venerate. That is admirable. However, Xiaochen, that is all you can do, right? Seeing Xiaochen's strenuous appearance, Huang Puqi believed that Xiaochen had already reached his limits. If that were all, then Xiaochen would not pose any true threat to Huang Puqi. Hand over that dragon scale. Otherwise, you will definitely die today. Huang Puqi said sullenly, changing the topic. Huang Puqi had already lost his patience. His jealousy of Xiaochen had already turned into murderous intent. If Xiaochen dared to say no, Huang Puqi would immediately attack and kill Xiaochen without hesitation. Who knew? Xiaochen did not even look at Huang Puqi. Xiaochen shifted his gaze and looked at the center of the formation, at the blue dragon totem, and the faux god flame above. Holding the black dragon scale, Xiaochen could clearly feel that the previous owner of the faux god flame was a senior of his blue dragon bloodline. Furthermore, Xiaochen could feel that the remnant will in the flame was suffering the most intense pain in the world, suffering at every moment. The source of all sin was in the black dragon scale in Xiaochen's hand. Xiaochen wanted to save this senior of the blue dragon bloodline, to stop it from suffering. You are seeking death. Seeing that Xiaochen did not even look at him, Huang Puqi flew into a rage. He drew his sword, and ice and snow flew everywhere as a cold intent surged out. Scram! Rage flashed in Xiaochen's eyes. Without even looking, he waved his hand and instantly completed the life bestowal spell. Whoosh! 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 More than 1,000 black flame demons appeared in that instant, appearing like phantoms as they blocked Huang Puqi's path. The flames burning on the flame demons and the evil aura spreading out told Huang Puqi that all this was not an illusion. More than 1,000 strong black flame demons that rivaled Star Venerates stood before Huang Puqi. Huang Puqi paled in fright. Before he completed his killing move, he withdrew his sword and retreated. Chapter 1742. The sudden appearance of over 1,000 black flame demons gave Huang Puqi a fright. No matter how strong he was, he did not dare to lose his temper when facing so many black flame demons. Most importantly, he could not make out the depths of these flame demons, so he did not dare to gamble. It was not just Huang Puqi. Senior Lu Lungfeng and the others were startled as well. They simply could not figure out why the black flame demons, which had clearly been killed, suddenly appeared. Furthermore, they were controlled by Xiaochen. Puppet techniques. There were many knowledgeable people here who muttered to themselves. There were 3,000 great Daos and 800 heretical Daos. Puppet techniques were heretical Daos. They were extremely rare and hard to cultivate. However, once one succeeded in cultivating them, one would undoubtedly be a peak expert. It would not be an exaggeration to say that one could fight against 10 or 100 alone. However, the problem was that no matter how one looked at it, Xiaochen did not look like someone who cultivated puppet techniques. There were very few sects in the world that understood puppet techniques. All of them were hidden sections. Since it was a heretical Daos, after one cultivated them, one would naturally reveal an aura different from that of a regular cultivator. It was very obvious. For example, that bamboo hat bladesman gave off an evil aura. With one look, it was clear that he was not a righteous Dao cultivator. However, Xiaochen was upright and upright. He had a withdrawn aura, a sharp light, and clear eyes. No one could tell that he was someone who cultivated unorthodox Daos at all. However, no matter what, Xiaochen's move had indeed shocked them. This was especially so for Huang Puqi. He who was originally very confident, now paled. His right hand, which held his sword, trembled slightly. The flame demon's killing intent locked onto him. Others could not feel the pressure that he faced. Xiao Chun, we can talk things over. There is no need for us to shed all pretense of cordiality and fight to the death. Huang Puqi finally showed weakness as he looked at Xiao Chun and said to the 1,000-odd flame demons pressing in, "Did you not hear what I said?" Xiao Chun asked coldly, not bothering to look at him. When the flame demons materialized from the life bestowal spell reached a certain number, their might would inevitably weaken. The consumption of magic power in the sea of consciousness was also very large. However, no matter how weak Xiao Chun was, he was still a major primal core venerate. No matter how drained he was, he could last for an hour. Xiao Chun used the black flame demon to materialize the yin-yang saber formation. It was more than enough to kill Huang Puqi. Moreover, besides the black flame demon, there was also Xiao Chun himself. Huang Puqi had no chance of winning at all. If he did not beg for mercy, only death awaited him. The expression in Huang Puqi's eyes flickered as he felt aggrieved. A ball of fire burned in his heart, but he did not dare to vent it. Xiao Chun's meaning was obvious. He wanted him to get lost. When had a true inheritor of the Snow Sword Palace suffered such humiliation? Xiao Chun, I, Huang Puqi, will settle this debt with you sooner or later. Let's go. Huang Puqi's face alternated between red and white as he led the remaining 10-odd Snow Sword Palace disciples away. Xiao Chun's gaze swept across Senior Lu, Lung Feng, Xiahou Feng, and the others. His meaning was clear. The people of the Snow Sword Palace are already gone. There is no need for you people to remain here. This was a silent threat, but no one dared to disobey. Senior Ma was severely injured and weak, no longer able to fight. Senior Lu's team was not strong in the first place. In the first few rounds of fighting, they had suffered heavy casualties. If Senior Lu's team wanted to fight this black flame demon again, they would not be confident. They were not confident. Xiao Chun, I hope that you never return to Dragon Flame City in this lifetime. Lung Feng said indifferently as he looked at Xiao Chun. The threat in his words went without saying. Xiao Chun retorted calmly. There is no need for you to worry about that. Soon, Lung Feng led the people of Senior Ma's team away. Senior Lu's team quickly followed. Soon, the vicinity of the Dragon Race Plaza became deserted, leaving only Xiao Chun and the Bamboo Hat Bladesman had not left. You are not leaving? Xiao Chun asked indifferently as he looked at the Bamboo Hat Bladesman. The Bamboo Hat Bladesman replied softly. They left because they do not understand what you are thinking and what you are seeking. Xiao Chun's heart skipped a beat. Then he looked at the Bamboo Hat Bladesman and said, The profound light temple's Zhen Yuan, there is no need to beat around the bush. When you executed that Azura hell, I knew who you were. Good eyes. The Bamboo Hat Bladesman smiled faintly and took off his bamboo hat, revealing a bald head and a stern face. If this was not the profound light temple's traitor, who else could it be? Although Xiao Chun had already guessed it, when he saw the other party's appearance, he still felt slightly shocked. Unexpectedly, this Zhen Yuan had hidden himself so deeply. Actually, you could have broken through to the Cloud Sea realm long ago, right? Xiao Chun asked calmly as he looked at the other party. Many years ago, Zhen Yuan was already the strongest of the Grave Sea's youths, firmly suppressing Shangguan Lei and Wang Yueming. As for Wang Yueming and Shangguan Lei, they were already peak major primal core realm cultivators 3 years ago. It was impossible for Zhen Yuan not to have improved. You guessed right. If not for the appearance of your Mahamaya abstinence violation saber technique, I would have remained in this cultivation realm for another 3 years. Zhen Yuan said indifferently, the Buddhist sect emphasizes comprehension ability and does not care much about cultivation realm. Comprehending it once every 10 years or comprehending it in one day can increase one's cultivation by 100 years. However, it no longer matters. Indeed, it no longer mattered. Since Zhen Yuan was no longer a Buddhist, he naturally could not continue cultivating like this. How is it? How do you think my saber skills compare to yours? Zhen Yuan asked Xiao Chun with a cocky expression. I only cultivated my saber skills for 3 months. I already comprehended the true meaning of breaking the mundane, resolving the mundane, and entering hell. He even comprehended another saber technique, Azura Purgatory, becoming a Buddha in 1 year and cultivating the demonic Tao with a thought. You understand what I mean. Xiao Chen said indifferently. This Zhen Yuan was indeed a genius at the saber. However, how could the saber Dao be accomplished quickly? For the sake of a shortcut, Zhen Yuan had already entered the demonic Dao. The stronger he was, the deeper the demonic Dao. Sooner or later, he would end up digging his own grave. The first of the Mahamaya abstinence violation scripture is the demonic Dao. However, the Buddhist sect and the demonic Dao cannot coexist, so I changed it to the demonic Dao. This is a demonic saber in the first place. It is not that my cultivation went astray. You were wrong from the start. Zhen Yuan enunciated every word as he looked straight at Xiao Chen. Zhen Yuan really wanted to see the confused expression on Xiao Chen's face when he heard that. Unfortunately, he was disappointed. Xiao Chen had a strong mental fortitude. How could he deny what he comprehended just because of a few words? He said indifferently, "Just wait and see. You said that you know what I am thinking and what I seek. Tell me." Zhen Yuan stepped forward and looked at the faux god flame on the blue dragon totem. His eyes sank into it like he was bewitched. You seek the faux god flame. However, this faux god flame is already tainted with a demonic nature. I do not need this faux god flame. I only need the demonic nature in it. There is no conflict between us at all. After pausing for a moment, Zhen Yuan continued, "Now that I have the saber technique manual, you no longer have anything that I seek. I will not be enemies with you. We can work together." Xiao Chen's heart skipped a beat. This suggestion was indeed pretty good. He could feel the pain that the faux god flame suffered. However, he could not find a way to resolve it immediately. Zhen Yuan had already decided to cultivate the demonic Dao. The demonic nature tainted by the faux god flame held a boundless temptation for him. More importantly, Xiao Chen sensed that some evil dragon should be sealed in this place. Originally, the faux god flame was the crux of the seal. However, too much time had passed, and the faux god flame's divine nature weakened uncontrollably. The evil dragon infiltrated it and controlled it. The so-called dragon Qi was the demonized faux god flame, purposely leaking it to attract others to discover the dragon city. Then they would use their essence blood to activate the blood formation around the totem. If Xiao Chen did not think of a solution, when the formation was activated, the seal might be completely destroyed. Letting Zhen Yuan absorb the evil dragon's demonic qi might be a way to solve the problem once and for all. However, all of this was just Xiao Chen's guess. He could not be sure. Whether to gamble or not depended on Xiao Chen's decision. You still can't make up your mind? The faux god flame is an opportunity that many people dream of. As long as you agree, you can obtain it. Zhen Yuan said indifferently when he saw Xiao Chen remain silent. Zhen Yuan said indifferently when he saw Xiao Chen remain silent. He believed that Xiao Chen would make his choice. Buzz. As Xiao Chen held the black dragon scale, he felt the torture that the faux god flame suffered again. It was an indescribable pain that made one's heart palpitate, but one could do nothing about it. Alright, deal. Xiao Chen's expression remained calm as he tossed the dragon scale to Zhen Yuan. Zhen Yuan revealed a smile as he stretched out his hand and caught the dragon scale. Then he revealed a fervent expression as he looked at the black faux god flame. Boom. However, just at this moment, the blood formation suddenly gave off a red light. The towering blue dragon totem, which had not moved since the beginning, started to shake. The entire dragon city also started to tremble intensely. Chapter 1743. Dragon City kept shaking, and all kinds of buildings collapsed one after another. Cracks appeared in the ground, and streams of dragon flame spewed out. What's going on? Save me. The Snow Sword Palace disciples and Senior Lu's team had not gone far. Originally, they wanted to ambush Xiao Chen and observe the situation. However, the sudden situation turned several people into ashes on the spot after being struck by the dragon flame. Damn it! How can it be like this? Huang Puqi cursed and soared into the air. The buildings under his feet immediately collapsed, and a stream of dragon flame spewed out of the ground. Huang Puqi paled in fright, and cold sweat poured down his back. If he had been any slower, he would have died immediately. Before Huang Puqi could catch his breath, the ground shook again, and several streams of dragon flame spewed out at the same time. Whoosh, whoosh, Whoosh! Huang Puqi drew his sword, and a cold intent spread out as he barely dodged. He looked around and saw flames everywhere in the dragon city. Terrifying, ferocious roars came from the ground. A horrifying dragon might spread out in the city, and a strange fear spread in people's hearts. Huang Puqi could not care so much, directly turning around and fleeing. He could no longer remain in this place. If he did, he might end up dying here. At this moment, half of the intact dragon city instantly collapsed. Flames surged into the sky, spreading throughout the entire city. Everyone fled for their lives, not daring to linger for even a moment. In the plaza, the expressions of Xiaochun and Zhen Yuan changed. They saw the swaying blue dragon totem in the blood formation, looking like it would collapse at any moment. Xiaochun said sullenly, "Hurry up. Move faster." Zhen Yuan did not dare to be careless. His expression turned extremely grave as he held the dragon scale with one hand and formed hand seals with the other. Zhen Yuan muttered something. It was actually a Buddhist incantation. As Zhen Yuan's hand seals changed, his body gave off a pitch-black Buddhist light. An expressionless black Buddha image appeared behind him. Zhen Yuan roared, and a black swastika shot out from his forehead. The swastika spun continuously, and the faux god flame on the totem trembled continuously, releasing strands of black aura. A sinister aura spread out in the surroundings. Xiaochun immediately felt his heart palpitate, and his body and mind were affected. Whoosh! Boom! Black smoke continuously came out of the tiny faux god flame. A moment later, thick black smoke filled the air above the plaza. A terrifying demonic aura pressed down on everyone, making it difficult for them to breathe. This startled Xiaochun. Unexpectedly, the faux god flame hid so much demonic nature. Even with so much demonic nature leaking out, it still showed no signs of stopping. Feeling the increasing pressure, Xiaochun had no choice but to sit down cross-legged and guard his heart in order to not be disturbed. A pair of scarlet eyes appeared in the black smoke above the plaza, staring coldly at Zhen Yuan. Xiaochun squinted and saw an indistinct black dragon figure in the darkness. It was the black dragon. Xiaochun was alarmed. There was an evil black dragon suppressed beneath the dragon city. What kind of existence needed a dragon city to suppress? Furthermore, it needed a faux god's divine flame to suppress it? Just thinking about it sent chills down one's spine. Zhen Yuan grinned and sneered. Withdraw. The gigantic Buddha image behind Zhen Yuan formed hand seals, and the swastika on its forehead started to forcefully suck in the black smoke. This person had really entered a state of berserking qi deviation. To think that he wanted to suppress and refine this demonic nature for his own use. Xiaochun did not know if he was crazy or bold. Insignificant bald donkey, you overestimate yourself. A terrifying roar resounded in the air. The black smoke turned into a dragon image and charged at Zhen Yuan. Rumble. With one pounce, the floor of the plaza was sent flying. A strong storm spread out in all directions, materializing black storms that swept out in all directions. You are just a strand of remnant will. You can't do anything to me. Zhen Yuan revealed a cold smile. He stretched out his hand, and the gigantic hand of the Buddha image behind him smashed down. This hand directly scattered this black dragon image, turning it into strands of thin black smoke. Then, the swastika on Zhen Yuan's forehead quickly sucked in the black dragon image. The instant the black smoke was sucked in, black lines appeared on Zhen Yuan's face, and he went berserk. Although it was just a strand of remnant will of the evil dragon, the demonic nature it contained was astonishingly vast, causing Zhen Yuan's aura to grow continuously. Black hair started growing wildly on Zhen Yuan's bald head like weeds. With just one look, Xiaochun felt fear in his heart. What exactly was the origin of the demonic dragon sealed below? Looking around, Xiaochun was pleasantly surprised to discover that as Zhen Yuan continuously sucked in the demonic qi, the black faux god flame on the totem started to turn clear. The flame swayed, becoming purer. The roar that reverberated endlessly above the dragon city turned even more intense. The black faux god flame on the totem slowly turned clear. The flame swayed, becoming purer. However, compared to the initial berserk roar, the dragon roar now sounded more like a roar of unwillingness. It sounded even scarier when one heard it. The dragon city was completely destroyed, reduced to rubble and bathed in a sea of fire. Ha 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 ha. I succeeded. I succeeded. I succeeded. Zhen Yuan laughed maniacally, looking deranged. The black hair on his forehead fluttered wildly. His image had changed greatly, and Xing Ji's tough and upright temperament had disappeared. His long hair fluttered wildly, and his eyes exuded a fiendish qi. Zhen Yuan's aura was even more horrifying. Xiaochen felt like Zhen Yuan would break through to star venerate at any moment. Zhen Yuan shifted his gaze and stared at Xiaochen. Then he smiled and said, Xiaochen, many thanks for your dragon scale. You can scram now. Right after Zhen Yuan spoke, he laughed maniacally. Then his figure flashed and grabbed at the faux god flame on the totem. Zhen Yuan had never thought of leaving the faux god flame to Xiaochen. However, Xiaochen did not move at all. He showed a cold smile as he coldly watched Zhen Yuan's actions. Boom! The faux god flame, which already had its demonic nature gone, ferociously released a divine might that knocked Zhen Yuan into the air. The faux god flame directly entered Xiaochen's forehead with a whoosh. A flame mark appeared on Zhen Yuan's forehead. Xiaochen immediately felt boundless energy filling his body. His mental energy grew infinitely in the depths of his sea of consciousness, like there was no limit. Junior, many thanks for saving me from my pain. Before Xiaochen could sense this energy, a voice suddenly rang out in his mind. It was the master of the faux god flame. Xiaochen was not surprised. The faux god flame that struggled free would choose him, a true blue dragon descendant. Furthermore, it was Zhen Yuan, the Buddhist sect unfilial son, who entered the demonic Tao. There was no need to think. It had to be him. Damn it. How can it be like this? Zhen Yuan stood on a boulder outside the plaza. Blood leaked out of a corner of his lips, somewhat caught off guard. Heaven is helping me. Unexpectedly, I managed to run into a blue dragon descendant at the critical moment. Junior, there is no need to say anything. Just do as I say. Quickly smash the blue dragon totem into the ground and block the formation. Only then can we barely suppress the black dragon king from coming out. This development startled Xiaochen. The black dragon king can still come out even after the demonic nature is absorbed. The seal broke long ago. Even if we smash the totem into the ground, it can only trap him for another 100 years. After 100 years, the black dragon king will definitely appear again. Xiaochen did not have much time to think. His figure flashed, and he passed through the many layers of blood formations and landed on the blue dragon totem. Xiaochen, I want your life. Xiaochen had just landed when he saw Zhen Yuan descend from the sky with a ferocious expression while holding a saber. Zhen Yuan executed the Mahamaya abstinence violation saber technique's third move, entering hell. The 18 layers of hell layered over each other. 10,000 ghosts covered Zhen Yuan as he swung his saber. The terrifying saber light looked like it came from the depths of hell. Woo, woo, woo. The mournful wails of evil spirits rang out in the surroundings. At this moment, hell and the human world merged. You are seeking death. A cold snort rang out in Xiaochen's mind, and the flame mark on his forehead shot out a beam of divine light. Intense flames burned all the evil spirits, causing them to cry out in pain. All the mysterious phenomena were burned away. After Zhen Yuan landed, flames wrapped around his body, causing him to roll on the ground in pain. Zhen Yuan's face changed continuously, sometimes black and sometimes white. He looked neither human nor ghost, completely crazed and extremely pitiful. There were no shortcuts between the Saber Dao and the Martial Dao. Since Zhen Yuan chose this path, all the consequences were self-inflicted. There was no need to pity him. Quick! Bury the blue dragon totem into the ground. Boom! 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 Just at this moment, the ground started surging like waves. Something seemed like it would jump out at any moment. Xiaochen used all his vital qi and smashed a palm strike on the blue dragon totem. He felt his veritable essence energy, vital qi, and mental energy in his sea of consciousness getting wildly absorbed by the totem. Under Xiaochen's push, the blue dragon totem slowly sank into the ground. Chapter 1744. Boom. When the blue dragon totem completely sank into the ground, the world suddenly turned quiet. The terrifying evil dragon underground was completely suppressed, and the horrifying dragon roars stopped. At this moment, the fiery underground dragon city slowly extinguished. When Xiaochen landed on the ground, he felt drained of energy. All his vital qi and veritable essence energy were drained. He had put in all his effort to bury the blue dragon totem in the ground. Without much thought, Xiaochen sat down cross-legged and took out 2 medial-grade spirit jades. Then he closed his eyes and circulated the purple thunder divine incantation. "Junior, what's your name?" As Xiaochen anxiously recovered his strength, that heavy voice rang out in his mind again. It was the original owner of the faux god flame. "I am Xiaochen. Xiao clan? Among the 8 noble clans of my blue dragon bloodline, there does not seem to be a clan with the family name Xiao. However, it does not matter. Xiaochen, I do not have much time left. I can only pass this faux god flame to you." Great waves stirred in Xiaochen's heart. He could not bear to tell the other party that he was the only one left of the blue dragon bloodline. After thinking for a while, he asked softly, "Is there no other way? Since the faux god flame is not extinguished, can I help Senior find a body and possess it?" "It is too late. My divine flame is already too weak. There is only a strand of will of soul left, unable to possess a body. Furthermore, I do not have any desire to continue living. There is no need to force it." The faux god flame's voice came and went, showing that it was in an incomplete state. Xiaochen remained silent, not knowing what to say. "There is no need to feel pity. I have already lived long enough. Remember this. Within 100 years, the Black Dragon King will definitely come out. This blue dragon totem is just a final resort. It cannot trap the Black Dragon King. How unfortunate. How unfortunate. In the end, I let down the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's trust." The faux god flame's voice started to weaken until it gradually vanished. "Senior. Senior." No matter how Xiaochen called out in his mind, that voice never appeared again. This made Xiaochen sigh in regret. Whoosh! All of a sudden, many memories that did not belong to Xiaochen surged into his mind. These were the stories of the faux god flame's master. Many scenes flashed in Xiaochen's mind intermittently like a movie. Because it was only a wisp of remnant will, its memories and information were scattered. After a while, Xiaochen sorted out some clues and gained a rough understanding of the Black Dragon King's origins. There had never been a black dragon in the history of the dragon race, and there was no black dragon bloodline among the 7-colored divine dragons. The Black Dragon King was a variant body. The day it was born, there were all sorts of terrifying omens. When they grew up, their strength became stronger and stronger, almost heaven-defying. Soon, they surpassed many of the older generation experts of the dragon race. He claimed to be the reincarnation of the dragon god. He killed with an iron fist and obtained the position of the Dragon Emperor. He was known as the Black Dragon King. After that, the hidden experts of the Dragon Clan worked together to seal it. However, it was almost unkillable and was able to break free of the seal in the end. Every time it appeared, it would cause a bloody storm in the dragon race, bringing all sorts of disasters. The last time it appeared, the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor personally sealed it. Then, a dragon race faux god expert used his divine flame to suppress it. Unfortunately, the effects of the seal had weakened by now. When the faux god flame was about to burn out, the Black Dragon King found an opportunity. If not for Xiaochen's coincidental appearance, the Black Dragon King would not have needed 100 years. Just now, the Black Dragon King would have successfully appeared, not needing 100 years. Xiaochen immediately felt some lingering fear. If he had not sealed the totem into the ground earlier, he would have died. If he had not sealed the totem into the ground earlier, the Black Dragon King would have appeared. Not only would he have died, but the disaster it would have brought would have been unpredictable. At the same time, Xiaochen also sorted out the method to inherit the faux god flame. Although this faux god flame was about to burn out, the energy it contained was still an astronomical amount to the current Xiaochen. Xiaochen thought about how Zhen Yuan's strength swelled to a frightening level just by absorbing the demonic nature. The faux god flame would definitely not be much weaker. However, Xiaochen was different. He would not forcefully refine it and raise his strength. There were no shortcuts on the path of cultivation. Zhen Yuan's earlier appearance, which was neither human nor ghost, was the best lesson for Xiaochen. Given Zhen Yuan's talent, he should not have been so radical. Abandoning Buddhism to cultivate the demonic path was truly unfortunate. After clearing away the distracting thoughts, Xiaochen started to follow the method he sorted out, slowly receiving the inheritance of the foe god flame. The bright flame mark on Xiaochen's forehead slowly dimmed. Whoosh! The energy contained in the foe god flame was slowly absorbed by Xiaochen's physical body, primal core, and soul. His entire body surged. The energy contained in the foe god flame was not purely veritable essence energy, vital qi, or soul energy. Instead, it contained all of them. Furthermore, there was a strand of the most important divine might. As Xiaochen absorbed the inheritance naturally, his cultivation rapidly soared. His body gave off motes of spiritual light. In the dark dragon city, they looked like fireflies, exceptionally beautiful. Xiaochen had purposely released these motes of spiritual light. He was not as greedy as Zhen Yuan. If he absorbed all the energy in the foe god flame, breaking through to Star Venerate would not be a problem. However, there was no need for that. If his foundation was unstable, he could easily enter berserking qi deviation. Everything had to be within his control. 1 hour later, Xiaochen's cultivation rose from early-stage major primal core realm to late-stage major primal core realm before stopping, just one step away from peak consummation. It was not over yet. After the inheritance ended, the energy representing veritable essence energy continued to be passed down. The energy representing soul energy continued to be passed down. Strands of pure soul energy flew into the depths of Xiaochen's sea of consciousness, which he had never explored before. Is it going to the soul pool? Xiaochen could not help feeling curious. In the past, he had heard from Yi Zifeng that Yi Zifeng had already condensed a soul pool that only star venerates could awaken. However, due to Xiaochen's limited strength, he had not been able to investigate it. This might be an opportunity. Xiaochen's consciousness lingered on the strands of pure soul energy, slowly entering the depths of his sea of consciousness. After a while, Xiaochen saw a spot of light in this pitch-black forbidden land. That was the soul pool. Before Xiaochen could take a closer look, he felt dazed. Then a pure soul energy entered it. The soul pool was incredibly vast, and could be said to be boundless. The vast soul pool appeared hazy and confused. The soul energy from the foe god flame flew towards a clump of light in the center of the soul pool. That clump of light was what ordinary people referred to as the 3 spiritual souls and 7 physical souls. The so-called will of soul was formed by combining the 3 spiritual souls and 7 physical souls with a cultivation technique that cultivated soul energy. In the Great Thousand Realms, all life forms, be they fiendish demons or ferocious beasts, had 3 spiritual souls and 7 physical souls. When cultivated to a high level, one would condense the 3 spiritual souls and 7 physical souls, cultivating soul energy and materializing the will of soul. As the boundless soul energy entered, that clump of light became increasingly brighter. Xiaochen clearly felt his 3 spiritual souls and 7 physical souls strengthening continuously. The soul pool was vast and boundless, appearing hazy and hazy. In reality, the vastness of the soul pool far surpassed one's imagination. It was the most mysterious part of the human body. Far to the east of the soul pool, in a place that Xiaochen could not sense, there was a mysterious gravestone. The gravestone stood tall and gave off an ancient aura. The 2 words Sky Dome were written on it. There seemed to be a grave behind the Sky Dome gravestone. Xiaochen did not know what was buried there. However, Xiaochen had relied on a trick to enter. His consciousness was very weak, and everything he saw was hazy. He could not see the gravestone in the east, which was extremely far away. After Xiaochen completely accepted the foe god flame's soul energy, the clump of light in the center of the soul pool spun continuously. Boundless starlight poured out from it. After a while, motes of starlight filled the soul pool. After a while, motes of starlight filled the soul pool. The clump of light stopped spinning and condensed into an azure-colored dragon seal, radiating a terrifying dragon might. Xiaochen withdrew his consciousness, and he suddenly opened his eyes. Many stars flickered in them. Immediately, all the floating dust in front of him disappeared. At this moment, it was like everything in the world, life or death, depended on a thought from Xiaochen. Will of soul. After receiving the Foe God Flame Soul inheritance, Xiaochen directly formed the Will of Soul. Boom! With a thought, the dragon seal in Xiaochen's soul pool burst out with a piercing light. Everything in front turned to dust. The light was silent and shockingly mighty. Chapter 1745. Just as Xiaochen was in closed-door cultivation and accepting the Foe God Flame inheritance, Xiaochen's expression changed drastically. Huang Puqi appeared on the ground of the Dragon Flame ancient land in a somewhat sorry state. Then he started to count the Snow Sword Palace disciples that escaped from the Dragon City. Soon after, Huang Puqi finished counting, and his expression turned extremely grim. Of the 100 Snow Sword Palace disciples, only 20-odd remained. Most of them died in the final Dragon Flame. Now only 1/5 remained. They had not obtained the Foe God Flame or the Blue Dragon Totem. It had to be said that this was a huge failure. After Xiaochen returned to the Snow Sword Palace, he would definitely be punished by the sect elders. They had failed to lead the team and suffered heavy casualties. Brother Huangpu. Right at this moment old Ma, who had a weak expression and was covered in wounds, appeared with Xiahofeng, Leng Feng, and the others. Senior Ma's team had already lost more than half of its members in the battle with the Black Flame demons. Then they experienced the Dragon Flame eruption and died even more miserably. Now there were less than 10 people left. They were almost wiped out. Not long after, Elder Lu's team also arrived, and their expressions were even more miserable. His team's strength was the weakest. After making an inventory, there were only 4 or 5 people who escaped from Dragon City. Old Ma, this Xiaochen is a member of your team. Just what is his background? Huang Puqi's expression was gloomy as he looked at Senior Ma. There was a clear hint of dissatisfaction in his eyes. He was currently in an extremely bad mood, wishing that he could kill everyone related to Xiaochen. He comes from the Grave Sea. I'm not sure which sect he comes from. He just joined the group not long ago, so I really don't know much about him. Senior Ma explained hurriedly when he saw Huang Puqi's expression. This time, the matter had really blown up. The Rank 5 Snow Sword Palace had lost so many people. They would definitely not leave the matter at that. If he were to get involved with Xiaochen now, he might accidentally get implicated. The consequences would be unimaginable. Leng Feng said. This matter cannot be blamed on us. If we discover him, Old Ma and I will not let him off. That's right. I will absolutely not offend this brat, unless he never returns to Dragon Flame City. Senior Lu said coldly with a sinister expression. A murderous intent flashed in his eyes. Huang Puqi said hatefully, damn it. This time, the ancient transportation formation that Dragon Flame City activates once every 100 years. The 10 great sects of the Soaring Dragon Marquis personally came. My Snow Sword Palace has truly lost all face. That brat, I will definitely make him wish he was dead. When Senior Ma and Senior Lu heard this, their hearts involuntarily sank. The Soaring Dragon Marquis was the Soaring Dragon Marquis' conferred land in the central Great Realms Yanwu dynasty. Fortune flourished, and those who were conferred the title of Marquis could share the fortune of the empire. From the moment the empires were established, they began to accumulate luck. Now the 4 empires had accumulated luck for hundreds of thousands of years. Currently, any dynasty had the ability to influence the direction of the entire Great Thousand World. The nobles of the dynasty could borrow the fate of the dynasty, and the sects that were allowed to be established in the nobles' fiefdom could also borrow the fate of the nobles. Compared to the Rank 5 sects established outside, the Rank 5 sects of the dynasties were much stronger in accumulations and strength. According to Huang Puqi, the 10 great Rank 5 sects of the Soaring Dragon Marquis all sent people. It would be strange if Senior Ma and Senior Lu were not shocked. Investigate this for me. We must investigate Xiaochen's background thoroughly. At the same time, spread the news that he possesses the Foe God Flame and the ancient Blue Dragon Totem. The murderous intent in Huang Puqi's eyes remained unextinguished, and the rage in his heart remained unquenched. He pushed all the blame for his carelessness to Xiaochen. In reality, death and injury were hard to avoid when one went out on experiential training. The deaths of the Snow Sword Palace disciples had nothing to do with Xiaochen. Huang Puqi could only be said to be petty for being so narrow-minded. With so many deaths and injuries, Huang Puqi and the others had no choice but to shatter their talisman strips and return to the city to rest. This ended their experiential training in the depths of the Dragon Flame ancient land. In the underground dragon city, Xiao Chun, who had condensed the will of soul, revealed joy on his face. This was truly a pleasant surprise. Unexpectedly, the soul energy inheritance of the foe god flame would directly help him condense the will of soul that he dreamed of. Xiao Chun thought about how he ended up in a sorry state every time he faced the will of soul of that star venerate expert. The ability of the will of soul was simply too terrifying. Xiao Chun could already directly drive the power of the world. When fighting with cultivators without a will of soul, he had a great advantage. Many times, even when Xiao Chun fought with star venerates, he held the upper hand. The main reason why he did not dare to fight head-on was that he did not have a will of soul. The inheritance of vital qi, veritable essence energy, soul energy, and the foe god flame ended. However, the flame mark on Xiao Chun's forehead, which had already turned very dim, did not vanish. There was still a faint mark. The inheritance was not over yet. Xiao Chun was startled to discover a golden flame in his sea of consciousness. Whoosh! A flash of light immediately lit up his entire sea of consciousness, making it golden and boundlessly resplendent. Divine might. Xiao Chun's heart skipped a beat. He was very familiar with this light. It was the black-armored cultivator from back then. That black-armored cultivator from back then had used the energy of the foe god flame several times to unleash divine might, and send Huang Puqi, Senior Ma, and the other star venerates flying. This golden flame slowly grew, and eventually turned into a lingering strand of flame that remained in Xiao Chun's sea of consciousness. At this moment, the flame mark on Xiao Chun's forehead completely vanished. The inheritance of the foe god flame ended. That final strand of divine might was the most precious treasure for Xiao Chun. However, he did not know how many times he could use it. No wonder those people fought to the death to obtain the foe god flame. Xiao Chun could not help sighing as he felt his cultivation increase, the condensed will of soul, and the increase in his physical body's vital qi. This was simply somewhat surreal. The feeling that the foe god flame gave him was simply too miraculous. That final strand of divine might would benefit him for life. It would be of great help to him when he tried to break through to the foe god realm and condense a divine flame. Aside from that, the remnant memories in the foe god flame represented a large amount of experience and knowledge. Those were benefits that could not be seen yet. However, they would be of great help to Xiao Chun. When Xiao Chun looked around, he saw that the dragon city had already turned into rubble. It no longer looked ancient and majestic like when Xiao Chun first saw it. There was only ruin and chaos. After the great fire, everything was gone. The blue dragon race, the exquisite buildings, the residences that once existed. Everything was lost to history. Xiao Chun did not know if he would get a chance to see the ancient city of the blue dragon race again in the future. At this moment, Xiao Chun's emotions were indescribably complicated. Xiao Chun was originally the last inheritor of the blue dragon race, someone who was determined to restore the glory of the blue dragon race. As Xiao Chun watched this ancient dragon city turn from complete to rubble, he felt even more sorrowful than ordinary people. Xiao Chun looked down at the dragon race plaza. The black flame demons formed by the life bestowal spell had reverted to their original form. The many black flame crystal statues had all cracked. They no longer had any spiritual energy, so they could no longer be used. Only the black statue that Xiao Chun had nourished with his essence blood and other flame crystals remained intact. Xiao Chun carefully picked it up and blew away the dust. Then he carefully put it away. This is... Looking around, Xiao Chun discovered something familiar under a few pieces of rubble. Gently pushing aside the rubble, Xiao Chun saw it clearly. Only then did he discover that it was the black dragon scale that he had given to Zhen Yuan. Xiao Chun recalled that divine might had forced Zhen Yuan back, and the demonic qi had rebounded on him. As Zhen Yuan entered a state of berserking qi deviation, he could not even take care of himself. Zhen Yuan should be in closed-door cultivation somewhere in the Dragon Flame ancient land. Right now, Zhen Yuan was terrifyingly strong. However, his situation was not good. The Black Dragon King's demonic chi might consume his consciousness at any moment, turning him into a puppet of the Black Dragon King like the black-armored cultivator. Black Dragon King. At the mention of the Black Dragon King, Xiao Chen's expression turned grave. The Black Dragon King in the faux god flame inheritance was extremely terrifying. The Black Dragon King would appear again within 100 years. When Xiao Chen thought of facing such a terrifying opponent, he could not bring himself to feel happy. Collecting his thoughts, Xiao Chen looked around at the dragon city that looked like rubble. In Xiao Chen's eyes, aside from the vicissitudes of history, this was also a treasure city. The memories of the faux god flame inheritance allowed Xiao Chen to learn many secrets about this city. If he explored it a little, he would definitely gain a lot. Chapter 1746. In the memories of the faux god flame, there should have been a library in the northern part of the city. That place used to be the martial technique pavilion of the largest clan in this dragon city. It contained all the dragon race cultivation techniques. There was no lack of peak cultivation techniques. Aside from the primogenitor grade cultivation techniques, the other cultivation techniques of the central great realm had a total of 3 grades: heaven, earth, and mortal. Each grade was further divided into superior grade, medial grade, and peak grade. Below that were all sorts of ungraded cultivation techniques. There were all sorts of explanations for them, so there was no way to summarize them all. A regular cultivator would be very lucky to obtain an authentic mortal grade martial technique, something that was rather rare. The army-breaking sword technique that Xiao Chen once obtained was a famous peak mortal grade martial technique in the Central Great Realm. In the Central Great Realm, cultivation techniques and martial techniques were strictly categorized. Many of the martial techniques and cultivation techniques of the sects in the various astral clusters outside could not be considered mortal grade in the Central Great Realm. When a cultivation technique or martial technique reached a low grade, it would be known as a divine skill. This was because it was extremely powerful and difficult to cultivate. Furthermore, it was rare in quantity. Take that Huangpu Qi for example. The sword technique that he cultivated was an inferior grade earth grade sword technique, known as an earth grade divine skill. Xiao Chen had seen the might of this move for himself. The northern part of the city was also in ruins. Xiao Chen searched according to the inherited memories. It didn't take long for the address of the library to be sorted out. The library had collapsed long ago. The various restrictions were gone, and many cultivation techniques and martial techniques were burned. Complete martial techniques were extremely rare. As Xiao Chen looked at the many incomplete manuals, he showed a regretful expression. Many of them were superior grade mortal grade martial techniques. There were also some so-called earth grade divine skills. Some of them even tempted Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen seriously collected every incomplete manual. In the future, he would have to restore all of them. These were cultivation techniques and martial techniques compatible with the dragon race's physique. If Xiao Chen wanted to revive the blue dragon bloodline in the future, he would need a complete martial technique system from the lowest to the highest. Ice Feather Divine Incantation. Suddenly, Xiao Chen discovered a complete medial grade earth grade cultivation technique, and his eyes lit up. Xiao Chen had never cultivated his will of ice with a cultivation technique that matched it. Now, with the assistance of the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation, Xiao Chen's will of thunder slowly strengthened. As the will of ice continued to descend, the gap between the two grew larger. As a result, he rarely used the Ice Blood Lightning Dragon, which had originally been his trump card, as its might could no longer keep up. I might as well cultivate another ice attribute cultivation technique, and walk the path of ice and thunder that no one has ever walked before. Xiao Chen whispered to himself, a vague idea forming in his mind. Martial artists who cultivated the thunder attribute would usually cultivate a wind attribute or a cloud attribute cultivation technique, walking the wind and thunder Dao. However, no one had ever walked the Dao of ice and lightning before, because it was simply too difficult to fuse the two together. Many people were unable to walk it. Xiao Chen was quite talented in both aspects. He had even fused the Ice Blood Lightning Dragon. It was not impossible to walk the path of ice and lightning. After making up his mind, Xiao Chen put away the Ice Feather Divine Art. He planned to cultivate another cultivation technique when he had free time. After cleaning up this place, Xiaochen looked at the ruined Dragon City and sighed. He continued exploring Dragon City. With the help of the inherited memories, Xiaochen was always able to gain something in the vast ruins. A month later, all the treasures in the ruins of Dragon City were collected. The treasures he had obtained were beyond his imagination. After taking a solemn look at Dragon City, Xiaochen left the city and came to the surface. It had only been a few dozen days, but when Xiaochen returned to the surface, he had the illusion that 1,000 years had passed. Xiaochen had changed too much. Compared to before, he was a completely different person. Before he entered Dragon City, he did not expect that in just a few weeks, he would not be able to come to Dragon City. Xiaochen's cultivation could break through to late-stage major primal core realm. His vital qi could reach 10 cauldron force, and he could condense the will of soul that he dreamed of. Taking out the teleportation jade slip, Xiaochen crushed it. Mottled shadows appeared beneath his feet, constantly changing and combining. 15 minutes later, a complete formation was formed. Xiao. A huge force spread out, and Xiaochen's body disappeared. When he reappeared, he had already disappeared. When he reappeared, he returned to the ancient teleportation formation in Dragon Flame City's northern city. Bladesman Xiaochen? Upon seeing Xiaochen appear, the old man maintaining the formation revealed a strange expression. Xiaochen exclaimed softly, "You recognize me? Haha. Who in the city does not know you, white-robed Xiaochen? You chased away 3 factions by yourself. Even the Snow Sword Palace's Huangpu Qi suffered a great loss at your hands." When Xiaochen heard that, he felt stunned. News really spread fast. However, the most crucial thing is that I heard that you inherited a strand of faux god flame and obtained an ancient dragon race totem. Right now, it is not just the Snow Sword Palace's Huangpu Qi, Senior Ma, and Senior Lu's teams that want your life. The old man smiled faintly, a strange light flashing in his eyes. Boom! Suddenly, the old man attacked, punching at Xiaochen as he released his aura. When the old man punched, the sky changed color. This was the sudden strike of a peak major primal core expert. Its might was great. If it were the previous Xiaochen, he would definitely be flustered, and would have to spend some effort to deal with it. Now Xiaochen only smiled coldly. The moment Xiaochen appeared in the formation, he sensed that something was wrong with this old man. Xiaochen had kept an eye out long ago, and was not surprised by the old man's sudden attack. With a thought, vital qi surged in Xiaochen's body, and all the dragon bones in his body crackled. Xiaochen directly used his body to receive the other party's punch. Bang! A loud sound rang out. Xiaochen's horrifying physical body received this punch head-on. The strengthened dragon bones isolated most of the damage. Xiaochen's veritable essence energy surged and easily negated the remaining force of the punch. After receiving the punch head-on, Xiaochen was completely unscathed. How can it be like this? That old man was greatly startled, revealing an extremely horrified expression, completely flabbergasted. Although the old man's sudden punch was not a peak strike, it was still quite mighty. Not only was Xiaochen uninjured, but he also did not take even half a step back. Scram! When the old man felt that something was wrong and wanted to turn around and retreat, Xiaochen's vital qi surged out. Clang clang clang. 10 dragon cauldrons made of vital qi collided with each other, giving off a deafening sound. Xiaochen retaliated with a punch, and 10 cauldron force exploded, sending the old man flying. His clothes were tattered, and his body was badly mutilated. He fell to the ground in a sorry state. Straightening his clothes, Xiaochen strode out of the place. Seeing this scene, all of them turned pale with fright. However, no one dared to block Xiaochen's path. This was Dragon Flame City. Strength was the rule, and the strong were the rules. Xiaochen thought to himself, it should be Huangpu Qi who leaked the news about me. This aroused the greed of all the cultivators in the city. Even the old man maintaining the formation started thinking about Xiaochen. Young Master Xiao, quickly leave Dragon Flame City. This is a troublesome place. You should not remain for long. A kind-hearted old man nearby reminded Xiaochen. Leave? Why should I leave? Tell everyone that I, Xiaochen, will be in the eastern part of the city for the next half a year. I will not go anywhere. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and left with large strides. The current situation suited Xiao Chen's intentions. Dragon Flame City was a place of crouching tigers and hidden dragons, with many experts. After Xiao Chen sent this old man flying with one punch, many people would think twice before they made a move. Those who dared to seek trouble for Xiao Chen would only be bold and skilled people with true talent. Xiao Chen had improved too quickly, and had not had time to stabilize his strength. It would be great if he could have experts to spar with. How could Xiao Chen think of leaving when this was something he could not wish for? If Xiao Chen died in this Dragon Flame City, he could only blame himself for being weaker than others. There was nothing much to say. Xiao Chen was born in an abandoned land. Compared to many people in the Great Thousand Realms, he was much weaker. Without a heart that dared to fight, it would be impossible for him to rise up. In less than half a day, the news of Xiao Chen's return spread throughout the northern district of Dragon Flame City. Many people immediately rubbed their palms together, eager to give it a try. Dragon Flame City never cared about law or reason. However, the news of Xiao Chen's return and the news of him sending a peak major primal core cultivator flying with one punch poured a bucket of cold water over many people's heads. Chapter 1747. After renting a courtyard in the northern district, Xiao Chen casually settled down. He began to cultivate the Ice Feather Divine Incantation. This divine art was only an earth-ranked middle-grade cultivation technique. Even a normal true disciple of a 5th-rank sect would find it difficult to obtain such a precious cultivation technique. There were a total of 6 layers, and it was said that if one had an astonishing comprehension ability, they could combine the 6 layers into one and comprehend the hidden 7th layer of the Ice Feather Divine Art. In the cultivation room of the courtyard, Xiao Chen took out medial-grade spirit jades and inserted them into the nodes of the spirit gathering formation. After filling it up, Xiao Chen sat cross-legged on the praying mat in the center of the formation and slowly circulated the Ice Feather Divine Incantation according to the route of the mental cultivation method. Closing his eyes, Zhang Xian formed a series of hand seals with his hands. Occasionally he would cross his hands, and at other times he would stack them up and down, placing them at his dantian. As the Ice Feather Divine Incantation circulated, the spiritual energy gathered in the formation quickly entered Xiao Chen's body, circulating endlessly in his meridians. Originally, there was only the purple chi whirlpool of the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation in the center of the dantian. However, after the Ice Feather Divine Incantation completed a minor cycle, countless pure spiritual energy fell like snowflakes like pure white feathers. Outside the purple cyclone, another small white cyclone formed. From today onwards, he would officially cultivate an ice cultivation technique and walk on the path of ice and thunder. The originally scattered will of ice in Xiao Chen's body slowly merged together, according to the Ice Feather Divine Incantation. Xiao Chen, who had never cultivated an ice-attributed cultivation technique before, made rather quick progress in cultivating the Ice Feather Divine Art. Phew! Opening his eyes, Xiao Chen exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and looked around. The training room was already covered in frost, and sparse snowflakes slowly drifted down. Snowflakes fell on her white robe, adding to her strength of character. She was like a winter plum flower standing proudly in the snow and ice. Some white hairs appeared on his scattered hair. This was the result of successfully cultivating the first layer. To be able to successfully cultivate the first layer in half a day, he should possess the will of ice. That is why he can cultivate so quickly. Xiao Chen was quite satisfied with his cultivation progress, but he was also very calm. The main reason he was able to cultivate so quickly was because he had a good foundation. More importantly, he had only just started. He was only at the first level of the Ice Feather Divine Art. The long march of 10,000 li had just begun. So. Strange auras could be sensed from outside the house, and they were rapidly approaching. Xiao Chen raised his eyebrows and smiled. "You're finally here. Let me see who you are." This person definitely came for the so-called ancient dragon race totem and the faux god flame inheritance. He did not hide his whereabouts. Anyone could find him if they wanted to. Most importantly, his whereabouts had been leaked on purpose. With a flash, Xiaochen flew out of the cultivation room and landed on the roof of his courtyard. Xiaochen raised his gaze and saw Huang Puqi leading the Snow Sword Palace disciples outside the courtyard. There was also Senior Ma, Senior Lu, and a group of old friends. He charged forward with a murderous aura. Bang! With a kick from Huang Puqi, the courtyard door was smashed into powder. Then a group of people rushed in without any scruples. Xiaochen raised his head and happened to see the white-clad Xiaochen standing on the roof, holding his saber and smiling. A few strands of white hair adorned Xiaochen's handsome face. On the roof, Xiaochen looked like a winter snow plum flower standing alone in the cold wind, looking delicate and refined. Huang Puqi felt slightly stunned. Then he smiled and said, "Xiaochen, it looks like you expected that I, Huang Puqi, would come. You are a rank 4 sect disciple. Yet, there is no point in saying so much. In Dragon Flame City, there is no sect or origin. Strength reigns supreme. The winner is king, and the loser is a bandit. If you surpass the saber in my hand, I will give you everything you want." 2 Dao discs appeared behind Xiaochen. His fighting spirit blazed, and his aura instantly reached its peak. Huang Puqi felt stifled. He had not expected Xiaochen to be so direct. "Senior brother, there is no need to be polite with him. Let's attack together. Even if he has a great fortuitous encounter, he will find it hard to escape death. Why go to so much trouble?" A Snow Sword Palace disciple stepped forward and whispered into Huang Puqi's ear. "Indeed, brother Huangpu. In any case, he is just a rank 4 sect disciple. How can he compare to your noble status?" Senior Ma, who was at the side, said sullenly as he gave Xiaochen a vicious look. Huang Puqi raged in his heart. He demanded, "Do you think that I, Huang Puqi, am definitely not a match for him? I am a Snow Sword Palace true inheritor, an early-stage star venerate. Do you think that I, Huang Puqi, will need your help to deal with a rank 4 sect disciple?" Raising his gaze, Huang Puqi said sullenly, "As long as you do not use that puppet technique from that day, why would I, Huang Puqi, fear a fight with you?" As a rank 5 sect disciple, Huang Puqi naturally had pride in his heart. From the start to the end, he had never treated Xiaochen as an opponent. Back then, when Huang Puqi was forced to leave, he had been brooding over it, believing that Xiaochen used an unorthodox technique. Huang Puqi had long been suppressing the rage in his heart. Now Xiaochen wanted to fight him alone. This was exactly what Huang Puqi wanted. Xiaochen said softly, "Don't worry. The technique from that day is very strict and exhausts a lot of energy. I will definitely not use it when fighting you. In that case, you can die." Huang Puqi radiated killing intent as he took a big stride forward and charged over. Whoosh! Snowflakes filled the air, and boundless cold chi spread out. Frost instantly covered the entire courtyard, turning it into an ice palace. The instant Huang Puqi drew his sword, a boundless sword light shot out. Huang Puqi's figure suddenly vanished, becoming one with the snowflakes filling the air. Exquisite. Several Dragon Flame City experts and Snow Sword Palace disciples, who were watching in secret, could not help praising Huang Puqi when they saw this sword strike. Huang Puqi truly lives up to being a Snow Sword Palace true inheritor. This is a fusion of the Sword Dao and the Ice Dao. Even many of the old seniors cannot compare to this. This is truly indescribably exquisite. When the sword strikes, the flying snow and the sword light merge. This sky full of flying snow. Is it sword light, or is it flying snow? What is real and what is fake? It is truly unpredictable. I heard that the founder of the Snow Sword Palace comprehended the Snowflake Divine Sword from the snow, establishing the rank 5 Snow Sword Palace. The Snow Sword Palace's profound cultivation techniques and martial techniques are all derived from the Snowflake Divine Sword. This Huang Puqi has indeed learned a trace of the true essence. It's admirable. On the roof, Xiaochen looked at the snow-filled sky and immediately saw the beauty of it. One had to admit that Huang Puqi's sword was indeed eye-catching. Not only was his cultivation outstanding, but he also had deep attainments in the Ice Dao and the Sword Dao. He was worth learning from. Snowflakes fluttered in the air, as beautiful as a dream, as fragmented as jade, as clear as crystal, and as undulating as the sea, with turbulent undercurrents. This was Huang Puqi's true strength. It was also the reason why he had always thought highly of himself and looked down on Xiao Chen. How to break this move? Was he going to find Huang Puqi's true body in the snowstorm and see through the sword light and snowflakes? If that was the case, then he would have fallen into Huang Puqi's trap. After one move, Xiao Chen would definitely lose. The spring snow came treading on the air, and wherever it touched, it seemed as if flowers were blooming. Among the trees in the garden, which one was the real plum blossom? Where is the flying snow? Where is the sword light? One wrong look, and the sky is filled with murderous intent. But why should I look at it? Flowers will wilt, snow will melt. There is nothing in the world that is eternal. However, if I resolve the mundane and jump out of the mundane world, what is real and what is fake will be decided with just a thought. If my wish is real, the flowers will bloom, never wilting. If my wish is fake, the snow will dance in the air, never melting. Xiao Chen's thoughts wandered as the snowstorm filled the courtyard. With just a thought, Xiao Chen gained many comprehensions from Huang Puqi's move. Unknowingly, the Mahamaya abstinence violation saber techniques resolved the mundane improved further. He now knew how to break this move. The Mahamaya abstinence violation saber technique circulated in his body. However, Xiao Chen did not draw his saber, only using the true meaning of resolve the mundane. He gently stretched out a finger, and the white whirlpool in his dantian started spinning frantically. All the ice-attributed veritable essence energy in his body poured out. Then he gently tapped the flying snow with his finger. The snowstorm filling the courtyard suddenly paused. Every snowflake bloomed in the air. 1 petal, 2 petals, 3 petals, formed a 7-petal white flower. The flying snow in the air instantly condensed into a flower. The courtyard, the snowflakes, the house, and the white-clad bladesman all formed a poetic painting. Huang Puqi, who had already merged with the flying snow, was forcefully squeezed out of the state that he created. When Huang Puqi looked up, his eyes met. He saw Xiao Chen standing alone under the roof, holding a flower and smiling. This startled Huang Puqi into retreating frantically. Chapter 1748. Huang Puqi had no choice but to retreat. Xiao Chen broke the mysterious phenomenon and perfect state that he created with one finger, turning it into Xiao Chen's mysterious phenomenon. Xiao Chen forced Huang Puqi out. This flabbergasted everyone. No one had expected Xiao Chen to use such a method to break this move. It was a miraculous and unimaginable break. Xiao Chen broke Huang Puqi's attack from the very foundation, instantly turning him into a defensive stance. The situation instantly reversed. Huang Puqi switched positions between offense and defense. Damn, this is too incredible. How did he do it? How strong is his mental state to be able to break this move like that? Why does it feel like this Xiao Chen's mental state is on a completely different level from Huang Puqi's? He is much stronger. This is going to be difficult. The spectators were all experts. Anyone could tell that Xiao Chen's seemingly simple finger attack had many tricks to it. In reality, there were many ways to learn it. It required an extremely high cultivation of the mind and a deep understanding of the martial Tao to reach an extremely high realm. Up on the roof, Xiao Chen smiled faintly as he watched the retreating Huang Puqi. Xiao Chen gently pushed his 2 fingers holding the snowflakes forward. The wind and snow in the air howled at Huang Puqi. Just as the 2 fingers moved forward, along with the howling of the wind and snow, there was a sudden clap of thunder on the flat ground. Boom! This thunder was ear-splitting, striking at the soul, and resounding in the sea of consciousness. It lingered without scattering, spreading out endlessly. Thunder clouds spread in the sky, and countless electric lights burst out. The instant the power of the wind and snow shot out, Xiao Chen created his strongest mysterious phenomenon. He leaped up while holding his saber, pressing towards the frantically retreating Huang Puqi. Kill! Xiao Chen drew his saber tyrannically, and a strand of saber light exploded the wind and snow in the air. The lightning and thunder illuminated him, making him look like a war god. Xiao Chen, who already held the upper hand in the first place, instantly gained an overwhelming advantage over the frantically retreating Huang Puqi. Damn it! One wrong move, and he lost everything. Huang Puqi complained in his heart. Right now, The situation was extremely unfavorable to him. If he got careless, he would instantly lose. Sword. His mind was unprecedentedly focused. The path of frost had been broken, so he would use the sword in his hand to turn the situation around. With a furious roar, Huang Puqi's entire body surged with veritable essence energy, and the sword in his hand buzzed endlessly. Xiaochen condensed an incredibly sharp sword move. His aura continuously shrank. By the time Xiaochen arrived, he had already become as sharp as a needle. Needles thin, sharp, but also easy to break. Huang Puqi was forcing himself into a dead end, putting himself in a hopeless situation. In any case, he was already at an absolute disadvantage, so he might as well take a gamble and take a risky move. No one had expected that the situation would be so dangerous in just 2 moves. It was truly shocking that they had reached such a situation where they were either alive or dead. Xiaochen's state of mind was shocking. Huang Puqi's decisiveness was also shocking. Resolving the mundane. Seeing that Huang Puqi was risking his life like this, Xiaochen was not afraid at all. He took the opportunity to execute his strongest killing move. A Buddhist swastika appeared on Xiaochen's forehead. He appeared expressionless as he severed the 7 emotions and 6 desires, forgetting the mundane, achieving eternity. A strand of eternal and inextinguishable saber light immediately appeared. A boundlessly ferocious Buddhist light shone brightly in all directions under the thunderclouds. It was like a blazing sun, illuminating eternally, not caring about being extinguished. Ice ceiling chop. Huang Puqi shouted, and 6 gigantic ice sword chi connected from head to tail appeared above his head. Then, they clashed with that eternal saber light. Xiaochen gently pushed off the ground and shot forward like a beam of light, betting all of his veritable essence energy. The ice ceiling sword chi clashed with the eternal saber light. Ice shards kept leaking out of the 6 revolving ice sword chis. They flew out and created terrifying ice explosions. The cold chi immediately became like a knife slicing through the air. Kasi. The courtyards within 5 kilometers that were affected instantly turned into ice palaces. Then, they silently turned into ice shards littering the ground. The cultivators watching in secret had no choice but to flee, afraid of getting caught up in the terrifying ice shards. Xiaochen could not dodge. He could only use his physical body to block these terrifying ice shards head-on. When the cold chi entered his body, his internal organs were instantly assaulted. However, at this point, how could Xiaochen retreat? The eternal and inextinguishable saber light in his hand continued to descend. The two were going all out. It was a matter of who could last to the end. It was Xiaochen who broke the ice sword chi connected from head to tail, breaking the needle-like sharp sword move inside. In the end, it was Huang Puqi's needle-sharp, ice-like sword move that penetrated every opening that Xiaochen could reach first, crushing his physical body. The saber light was eternal and inextinguishable. However, that did not mean that the physical body was eternal. Everyone held their breaths and focused, waiting for this exciting result. Kasie. In the next moment, the sound of something breaking could be heard from within the ice storm. In the next moment, the ice and snow broke, and Huang Puqi became like a broken kite, on the verge of falling. Senior brother. The Snow Sword Palace disciples were startled. They quickly soared into the air and caught Huang Puqi. You lost. The ice and snow exploded, and the saber light vanished. Xiaochen sheathed his saber. Then his white robe slowly landed, accompanied by the dancing ice and snow in the air. His face was slightly pale, and there was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. It was obvious that the fight just now had exhausted his mind and spirit, and his injuries were not light. On the other hand, Huang Puqi's face was drained of blood. There was a terrifying saber wound on his chest. He had nearly been cut in half at the waist. Thank you for showing mercy, Huang Puqi said through clenched teeth as he looked at Xiaochen. His face was dark, and there was no sign of gratitude on his face. With the last saber strike, Xiaochen had the chance to take his life. In the end, he held back and didn't chop him in half. Xiaochen said indifferently, "No need to thank me. You saved your own life." He did not use his will of soul or activate his great desolate Ian bloodline. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to hold back. Huang Puqi smiled bitterly and said, "My background is better than yours, and my cultivation is higher. If I were to use my will of soul, where would I put my face? A defeat is a defeat. Let's go." This time, there was no need for Xiao Chun to say anything. Huang Puqi led the Snow Sword Palace disciples away. He would not appear again in the future. He was convinced and no longer had the face to remain here. Just at this moment, Senior Ma and Senior Lu, who were in the courtyard, exchanged glances and nodded slightly. While Xiao Chun and Huang Puqi were speaking, Senior Ma suddenly threw out a book. Stars flickered in the two's eyes. Their wills of soul carried the flourishing might of the world as they charged at Xiao Chun. The two's wills of soul merged into one in the air. Immediately, the sky changed color. Winds blew, and clouds churned. An unparalleled force pressed down on Xiao Chun. Everyone in the distance was so shocked by this scene that they sucked in a breath of cold air. Although there were no rules in Dragon Flame City, every cultivator had their pride. Very few people would launch such a shameless sneak attack. Furthermore, it was a sneak attack after the battle ended. Furthermore, it was two star venerates working together to use their wills of soul to suppress a major primal core venerate at the same time. Xiao Chun, you traitor. This old man will let you know the fate of betrayers. Senior Ma said through clenched teeth, showing a vicious expression. He had been waiting for this moment for a long time. In Senior Ma's eyes, Xiao Chun was already a dead man. Back then, Xiao Chun already found it very taxing to resist Senior Ma's will of soul alone. Now that Senior Ma and Senior Lu worked together to deal with the severely injured Xiao Chun, they were confident of success. There would be no mistakes. It's over. This time, Xiao Chun is really finished. While many people thought that the two old men were shameless, they also felt pity for Xiao Chun. No matter who it was, they would most likely die in such a situation. There would be no hope of survival. Even if one did not die, one would be crippled. Xiao Chun's expression changed slightly as he snorted coldly. Starlight flickered in his eyes as well. The azure dragon seal in his soul pool flickered with light. A will of soul containing the primordial dragon might surged out of Xiao Chun's forehead and clashed with the combined will of soul. Buzz. The two soul wills clashed in the air. The two old men's soul wills crumbled upon contact. They didn't even have time to show shock on their faces. Xiao Chun's will of soul suppressed him, causing him to vomit a mouthful of blood and kneel on the ground, unable to move. Dust filled the air, but it didn't move. Xiao Chun's soul will had already fixed this space. Young Master Xiao, spare me. Old Ma and Old Lu knelt on the ground, completely scared out of their wits. Huang Puqi, who had not gone far, turned his head and saw the scene. He was petrified on the spot, feeling as if his face was on fire. Chapter 1749. Huang Puqi showed a sullen face, his expression completely stiff. He was completely stupefied. Earlier, Huang Puqi still maintained some pride. He did not use his will of soul or activate his great desolate Ian bloodline. He believed that even if he lost, it was because he did not use his full power or bring out all his trump cards. However, right now Xiao Chun did it before everyone. He broke the will of soul that Senior Ma and Senior Lu worked together to bring out, announcing to everyone that he, Xiao Chun, also had a will of soul. Furthermore, it was not weak, easily breaking the will of soul of two-star venerates. Huang Puqi did not care about Senior Ma and Senior Lu at all. They were just two-star venerates with ordinary talent. To ordinary people, they looked very awe-inspiring. However, Huang Puqi was very knowledgeable. He had already seen many star venerates in a rank 5 sect. He had seen holy venerates and sovereign personages. In the Snow Sword Palace, with Senior Ma and Senior Lu's cultivation, they could only be outer sect administrators at best. They would not even be able to become elders. Huang Puqi believed that he could break the will of soul that the two worked together. However, he would not be able to do it as easily as Xiao Chun. Senior brother, what's wrong? The Snow Sword Palace junior brother asked quickly when he saw that Huang Puqi's expression was off. Huang Puqi felt somewhat empty in his heart. He showed a desolate expression, appearing somewhat embarrassed. He said somewhat weakly, "I'm fine. Let's go. Let's go. Huang Puqi repeated himself twice in a row. Clearly, he was not in the right state of mind. His footsteps were unsteady, and he instantly looked much older. As Xiao Chen looked at Senior Ma and Senior Lu, he ignored their pleas for mercy. He pointed, and the two, who were suppressed by the will of soul, flew back into the air. After the two landed, their expressions turned stiff, and their eyes turned listless. In their soul pools, their souls had already been shattered, becoming two soulless bodies. They could not be any more dead. Xiao Chen had always despised such vile people who attacked from behind. He coldly waved his hand and said to the people who came to cause trouble, "Close my doors and scram." Yes. 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 The people of Senior Ma's and Senior Lu's teams panicked, carrying the two's corpses and rushing away. The people watching the battle from the shadows remained silent for a long time. They had never expected such an ending. The sneak attack of 2-star Venerates should have been in the bag. To think that Xiao Chen managed to turn the situation around. Who would have thought that Xiao Chen would be able to break Huang Pu's miraculous phenomenon with just a flower pinching finger? One day later, the battle shook the entire city. The white-clad Xiao Chen, who was already well known in the first place, became even more famous in Dragon Flame City. The topic of discussion was not just the ancient dragon race totem and his many treasures. It was his strength. Some people even believed that Xiao Chen was strong enough to rank among the 10 strongest bladesmen in Dragon Flame City. Apart from his low cultivation, he had no other shortcomings. Just how strong was the white-robed Xiao Chen? This was the topic that all of Dragon City was talking about the most. Apart from that, what they talked about the most was what Xiao Chen had said. Whoever could defeat the saber in his hand, he would give all the treasures on him to the other party for free. This sentence was seen as Xiao Chen issuing a challenge to all the experts of Dragon City. Everyone knew that the Dragon Flame Ancient Land was the place where the most geniuses and outstanding talents gathered in the dozens of nearby astral clusters. Every day, sect elites and outstanding talents from the various astral clusters would come here on experiential training. This was especially so now. Even the 10 great sects of the Yanwu dynasty's soaring dragon marquisate sent true inheritors to lead teams on experiential training. Some people found Xiao Chen's words too arrogant. Sooner or later, there would be trouble. Indeed, on the second day after Huang Puqi's defeat, someone went to look for him. It's Bai Yan, a veteran expert of Dragon Flame City. His team ranks among the top 3 in Dragon Flame City. He lost. Bai Yan lost. After 100 moves, Xiao Chen knocked him into the air with one saber strike. He no longer had any combat prowess and fled in a sorry state. However, Bai Yan's defeat did not stop this craze. While Dragon Flame City lacked many things, it did not lack ruthless people. Did you hear? The Fangluo, known as the 10,000 Demon Slayer in the northern city, sought out Xiao Chen after he returned from the depths of the Dragon Flame Ancient Land. That's the one. I heard that Fang Luo killed more than 10,000 flame demons. He is a ruthless person. Although he did not break through to Star Venerate, he comprehended the will of soul long ago. His combat experience is scarily rich. That's right. That's him. When he returned this time, he already broke through to Star Venerate. When he heard that Xiao Chen has an ancient dragon race totem, he charged over without saying anything. What was the result? He lost. Xiao Chen defeated him in 50 moves. He was in an even worse state than Bai Yan. Ah, that can't be right? No one expected that defeating Huang Puqi was just the beginning for Xiao Chen. In merely 2 short months, more than 20 people sought out Xiao Chen to challenge him. Practically every 3 days, experts of Dragon Flame City or outstanding talents who came for experiential training sought out Xiao Chen. In the end, all of them lost without exception. However, there were people who did not believe that a person who had not broken through to Star Venerate could be strong. No matter how strong one was, there was a limit. However, despite these people attacking one after another, they could not defeat Xiao Chen. They even found it difficult to last more than 100 moves. Later, the cultivators in Dragon Flame City were shocked to discover that Xiao Chen seemed to grow stronger the more he fought. Xiao Chen seemed to grow stronger the more he fought. After every battle ended, his strength would increase by another level when he reappeared. Hence, a strange scene happened. Originally, every time Xiaochen fought, there would be more than 100 people watching, learning from him and curious about the results. After 3 months, there were only a few people watching. This was because Xiaochen's opponents lost increasingly faster. From the first 100 moves, now no one could last more than 10 moves. He lost again. The top outstanding talent of the vast sea cluster, Nangong Ming, who broke through to Star Venerate at the age of 30, lost to Xiaochen in 5 moves. That is within expectations. Now, I finally understand. This Xiaochen is purposely using this to temper himself. He is really ruthless. In my opinion, only those dynasty scions or the top 100 great desolate Ian bloodlines can suppress him. Indeed, such an existence can already go to the central great realm and make a name for himself. That is hard to say. Those who have not entered the central great realm will never know how narrow their vision is. That's right. In the dynasties, rank 5 sects are at the bottom. Not to mention rank 6 sects, and the various holy sects above rank 6 sections. In the end, that world is still too far away from us. Just think about it. Just one cluster Lord Go you can have an entire great realm as her conferred land. The vision of the people of the central great realm is completely different from ours. Right now, the discussion about Xiaochen was no longer about how strong he was in Dragon Flame City. Instead, it was about whether such a demonic genius like him could make a name for himself in the central great realm. However, few people had been to the central great realm before. Everyone debated this endlessly, with many different opinions. Some people said that Xiaochen was qualified to join a holy gate. Some people also said that Xiaochen was not qualified enough, and would only invite humiliation if he went to the central great realm. It was just like how many outstanding talents were among the top in their respective astral clusters. However, after they went to the central great realm, they all felt depressed and disappointed. Even after many years, when they returned, they did not mention their experiences in the central great realm. With one look, it was clear that they did not want to recall the past. They must have suffered great humiliation, and could not bear to recall it. Another 3 months passed. Half a year passed just like that. Xiaochen stood on the roof of his courtyard and looked at the people below. Then he said softly, "Senior, you lost." Outside the courtyard, an old man stared at the broken saber on the ground. This old man muttered to himself in a daze. This old man was Feng Yuqiang, one of the original 10 great bladesmen of Dragon Flame City, ranked first. He came because of the ancient dragon race totem. A totem was not something that could be called a totem after it was carved on a piece of wood. It required a race to worship it, for countless people to worship it and offer their pious faith. Only after thousands or even tens of thousands of years could it take form and be called a totem. The totem of some minor races was already a priceless treasure. What more the ancient dragon race? Naturally, it would tempt countless experts. Feng Yuqiang had been tempted long ago. However, due to his status, he did not make a move. After half a year, as more and more people lost to Xiaochen, Feng Yuqiang finally could no longer hold back and made a move. However, after one battle, after exchanging 10 moves, Xiaochen broke his weapon. Feng Yuqiang suffered a crushing defeat, reduced to a sorry state. Xiaochen sheathed his saber and looked at the old man in front of the courtyard, somewhat distracted. In the blink of an eye, half a year passed. To think that no one in Dragon Flame City was a match for him. Perhaps Xiaochen had set his sights too low from the very start. Chapter 1750. Within half a year, all the famous experts of Dragon Flame City had challenged Xiaochen. When the outstanding talents who came for experiential training heard of Xiaochen's reputation and the wager, they all challenged him. Even the true inheritors of the 10 rank 5 sects of the Soaring Dragon Marquiate all rushed over. At first, people came to challenge Xiaochen nearly every day. However, in the final month, only Feng Yuqiang came. Even so, he was defeated in 10 moves. "I'm old. I'm really old." Feng Yuqiang picked up the broken saber and sighed to himself. Whoosh! Xiaochen landed on the ground and performed a cupped fist salute. Senior, don't be too sad. Since ancient times, there has been no lack of powerful experts who became famous in their twilight years. Feng Yuqiang smiled bitterly and said, there are indeed quite a few. I even know some of them. However, they are definitely not me. I'll take my leave first. Feeling somewhat hurt, Feng Yuqiang shook his head and sighed before leaving alone. As Xiaochen watched Feng Yuqiang leave, he entered deep thought. In the past half a year, he had defeated countless people. He would seriously observe the expressions and backs of every defeated person. Defeat had never been scary. What was scary was losing all fighting spirit after one defeat. Xiaochen had once been reduced to a sorry state by a star venerate, like an ant that could be squashed. He had lost even more miserably than these people, in an even more sorry state. However, he did not lose his fighting spirit. That was how he rose up today, fighting everywhere in Dragon Flame City, without suffering a single defeat. However, this was not a result that he could be too proud of. Xiaochen withdrew his gaze and said softly, it is time to return. In the past half a year, Xiaochen's cultivation had already reached peak consummation major primal core realm, only one step away from star venerate. Since he already condensed the will of soul, the bottleneck between major primal core venerate and cloud sea star venerate was not particularly large. There was no need for him to purposely make a breakthrough. When the conditions were right, he could advance to star venerate. Right now, Xiaochen had to consider how to proceed after breaking through to star venerate. He needed a goal, someone to refer to. However, there was no one in Dragon Flame City that he could learn from. After packing his things, Xiaochen silently left the northern city in the middle of the night. Dragon Flame City, Southern District. A middle-aged man wearing a cloak sat cross-legged on the top floor of a quiet and elegant pavilion. Beside his hand was a simple and unadorned longsword. In the quiet and peaceful top floor, there was an omnipresent sword aura that came from the middle-aged man's body. As long as he existed, the sword momentum would not disappear. Even if he was cultivating in seclusion, as long as he opened his eyes, the natural sword momentum would be ready to be unleashed. This was a shocking blow to the invader, catching him off guard. He was Baiming Feng. Xiaochen was one of the 10 strongest swordsmen of Dragon Flame City, one of the sovereigns of the southern city. Over the years, he had killed countless aggrieved souls with his sword. Relying on the 4-foot-long sword, he had established an illustrious reputation. Very few people dared to provoke him. But tonight, under the lonely shadow of the waning moon, a young man in white walked over. The bright moon was not round, and the stars did not twinkle. Tonight it was very dark. The man in white walked over with a saber in his hand. When he was 10 li away from the pavilion, Baiming Feng suddenly opened his eyes. Buzz buzz buzz. Auras clashed, and the saber and sword hummed. The decorations on the top floor shattered one by one, and cracks appeared on the pillars as they struggled. Dense saber intent and sword intent clashed with each other, causing the cracks to spread continuously. The instant Baiming Feng opened his eyes, he instantly grasped the sword beside him and drew it by 1 centimeter. A dazzling sword light and a sharp sword wind made Baiming Feng's long hair and clothes flutter wildly. However, by the time Baiming Feng opened his eyes, it was already too late. This was because Xiaochen had already drawn his saber, and Baiming Feng had only just opened his eyes. Boom! The pavilion instantly shattered, turning into countless shards. However, Baiming Feng had not even drawn his sword yet. Whoosh! An even stronger saber light completely crushed Baiming Feng's sword wind, extinguishing it and forcibly driving it away. Before Baiming Feng could swing his sword, the saber light knocked the sword in his hand away. Kasie! The saber light chopped down, chopping off Baiming Feng's right hand, which originally held the sword. Blood spurted out like a fountain. When the pavilion shattered, Baiming Feng stabbed his sword into the ground, kneeling on one knee. His complexion was pale, but he did not say anything. Xiaochen sheathed his saber, and the saber light that lit up the dark night vanished. However, Xiaochen's white robes were still clearly visible in this quiet night. I am a vengeful person. Half a year ago, you stabbed me with your sword and nearly took my life. Half a year later, I will return the favor and cut off one of your arms. Right after Baiming Feng spoke, Xiaochen left with his saber in hand, going further away in the hazy night sky with the waning moon hanging high. As Bai Mingfeng looked at his chopped-off arm, he revealed a bitter smile. Bai Mingfeng had long known that a demonic genius had appeared in the northern city. In the past half a year, this person had challenged all the experts in Dragon Flame City. He also knew that this person was the white-clad bladesman, who once caught his sword with his bare hand. Furthermore, Bai Mingfeng knew that the other party would definitely come looking for him before leaving. However, Bai Mingfeng did not leave. Firstly, he could not bear to part with the profits he had accumulated in Dragon Flame City over the years. Secondly, he did not believe that he could not catch Xiao Chen's saber. Bai Mingfeng knew that Xiao Chen was like him, a proud and aloof person. Half a year ago, when Xiao Chen caught his sword, Bai Mingfeng stopped making a move, letting Xiao Chen leave. Unfortunately, after half a year, Bai Mingfeng failed to catch this saber strike. Losing an arm was the price Bai Mingfeng paid for his confidence. Bai Mingfeng picked up the chopped-off arm on the ground, and quickly left without saying a word. Bai Mingfeng had made many enemies over the years. If he did not leave after losing an arm, he would be seeking death. Those enemies would not be as polite as Xiao Chen. At sunrise, a black horse carriage kicked up dust as it sped on the road leading to Soaring Dragon City. Xiao Chen sat cross-legged in the carriage, cultivating with his eyes closed, not slacking off at all. A cold chi spread out in the carriage, and snowflakes flew everywhere, condensing into ice feathers drifting about. In the past half a year, Xiao Chen had already cultivated the ice feather divine incantation to the 3rd layer. This was already very fast. In the future, Xiao Chen would have to slow down. Unless Xiao Chen ran into some fortuitous encounter, or an ice-attributed natural treasure. Right now, Xiao Chen had a head of long hair, half white and half black. Despite his handsome air, there was now a hint of coldness. After 3 days and 3 nights, Soaring Dragon City came into view. Xiao Chen still needed to deal with some things before he could leave the Soaring Dragon Great Realm and return to the Gravesea's Purple Flame sect. Xiao Chen still had many harvests in the underground Dragon City, like the blaze crystals and all sorts of natural treasures that he could not use. After cultivating for half a year, he had exhausted a lot of spirit jades, so he needed to replenish them. Whoosh! Ma Cheng suddenly shrank back and then strangely vanished, appearing on Xiao Chen's clothes, which had suddenly appeared. Xiao Chen would arrive at Soaring Dragon City in another half a day. There was no need to use the cycle war chariot to travel. Just as Xiao Chen prepared to continue on, a strange aura attracted his attention. At some point in time, the busy road had turned quiet, no carriages or people in sight. Blocking the road? These 2 words were Xiao Chen's first reaction. To be able to block the road to Soaring Dragon City, how capable must this person be? Without the tacit approval of the Cluster Lord's residence or some connection, it would be impossible to block the road. Who would dare to offend the Soaring Dragon Marquis? That was a marquis conferred by an immortal dynasty. It represented not only honor but also deterrence and strength, not some symbolic thing. Whoosh! 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 Light flickered, and 18 figures approached from afar, surrounding Xiao Chen. They were all dressed in black, revealing only a pair of sharp eyes and a cold, murderous aura. Their footsteps were firm, and their cultivations were peak major primal core realm cultivators. With one look, one could tell that these people were skilled in formations and good at working together to kill. Hand over the ancient dragon race totem. I'll give you 1 second to consider. Kill. Without waiting for Xiao Chen to reply, when the 18 saw that he did not quickly take out the ancient dragon race totem, a murderous intent spread from their bodies. The murderous intent immediately erupted. Like a tsunami or a volcano erupting, the 18 drew their short swords at the same time. Piercing beams of light shot out from their feet. The light beams connected and instantly formed a 3-dimensional formation, trapping Xiao Chen in it. This trapped Xiao Chen within, making it difficult to advance or retreat. Danger lurked everywhere. Chapter 1751. An expert. This was a tacit understanding that could only be cultivated by a true assassin for 10 years, or even dozens of years. Countless resources were needed to accumulate. Behind these simple 18 people was a great power whose depths could not be seen. Nurturing such 18 people would require much more resources than hiring a star venerate expert. Resources had a price, but time was priceless. Not everyone had the ability to spend more than a decade to nurture such death warriors. There must be a huge force behind it. There must be specialized people and organizations that carry out systematic training. Light and shadow flickered between black and white. Countless sword shadows charged toward Xiao Chun, stabbing, slashing, left and right. In the sky, on the ground, in all directions, there was not a single blind spot. Clang, clang, clang. Unsheathing his saber, Xiao Chun did not move an inch. His expression was calm as he brandished the saber in his hand. As the sword and saber clashed, all sorts of clanging sounds could be heard. It was exceptionally shocking. The round of attacks that were like an inescapable net ended in the blink of an eye. Another round followed, not giving anyone a chance to catch their breath. Between heaven and earth, light and shadow danced. This three-dimensional array was shrouded by layers of sword shadows. From an outsider's point of view, they could only see the dancing swords forming a huge sphere. After 18 rounds, the black shadow returned to its original position. There were no wounds on Xiao Chun's body. After half a year of training, his saber skills had reached a whole new level. When Xiao Chun waved his hand, his saber light could easily envelop a place. With one move, he could easily block the combined attacks of several people. But the situation was still not optimistic. Xiao Chun felt that this complicated and profound formation was just the beginning. There were still many more incredible moves that he had yet to bring out. The targets of this formation should be middle-stage star venerates or even late-stage star venerates. He had to defeat one of them. Otherwise, if the other party were to continue to display the might of the formation, they would be unable to escape. He would definitely perish here today. Change formation. Just as Xiao Chun expected, the leader of the black-robed men snorted coldly. The 18 figures quickly changed positions. The light on the ground and the connected sword shadows in the air kept changing. Like a ripple, all sorts of killing intents assaulted Zhang Xian unceasingly. The formation was filled with killing intent. One wrong step, and they would fall into a bottomless abyss and be dismembered. Xiao Chun had no choice but to follow suit. He tried his best to find the slightest chance of survival in the array formation. Of the 50 die numbers, 9 out of 40 are used, and 1 is missing. The heavenly Tao was heartless, but no matter what, there would always be a chance of survival. Any killing formation was like this. It could not go against the natural order. No matter how many layers of killing intent there would always be a chance of survival. What was difficult was to distinguish between real and fake, and between fake and real. How to divide it? How to argue? Fortunately, Xiao Chun was proficient in the art of geomancy. He had been through hundreds of battles, and was particularly sensitive to killing intent. In such a killing formation, Xiao Chun kept flashing about, narrowly avoiding the layers of danger. Wait. Killing intent gathered in Xiao Chun's eyes. He still had many trump cards that he had yet to use, even though it was dangerous and he could lose his life at any moment. However, he had not used any of these trump cards. Either he didn't use it, or once he did, he would be sealed with blood and killed without mercy. The 18 assassins watched in shock as Xiao Chun continuously moved about but failed to land a hit. This formation was called the Star Killing Formation. As the name suggested, it was used to kill star venerates. Once it was executed, there was no chance of failure. However, today Xiao Chun was just a major primal core venerate. Even after fighting for so long, he still did not show any openings. Attack! The leader of the assassins shouted, losing some patience. Immediately, 9 figures soared into the air, and thrust their swords at Xiao Chun. The 9 swords merged into one and space trembled. If there were a tall mountain here, it would definitely collapse. Even a middle-stage star venerate would have to dodge the attack of the 9 swords merged into one. As long as one retreated, one would fall into the killing intent of the formation, consigned to eternal damnation. The 9 people's eyes were sharp, cold, emotionless, devoid of color, only a heavy death chi. Xiao Chun stood upright with his hands behind his back. Then he smiled coldly and said, I was waiting for you to attack. 2 spots of light appeared in Xiao Chen's eyes, one golden and one white. The Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram suddenly took form. Yin-Yang, the 4 divisions, the 8 trigrams, and all sorts of mysterious phenomena appeared. Dang! The 9 swords struck the diagram but did not budge at all, unable to break it. Scatter! Xiao Chen pushed with his hand, and the Yin-Yang flame diagram gave off a bright golden light. Then it charged forward, sweeping through everything in its path, unblockable. Before the 9 black-clad assassins could retreat, the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram crashed into them. They immediately vomited large mouthfuls of blood and went flying back. The star-killing formation instantly broke. When the light and shadow disappeared, the feeling of being restrained by the light and shadow that had been lingering around Xiao Chen vanished, resolving the mundane. Xiao Chen's figure flashed, vanishing from where he stood. Then he headed for Soaring Dragon City silently. His destination was Soaring Dragon City's Cluster Lord's residence. It was never too late for a gentleman to take revenge. At the same time, a group of unwelcome guests arrived at Dragon Flame City, which was still far away. 7 or 8 people gathered at the city gates. All of them had extraordinary auras and a withdrawn sharpness. Vaguely, they stirred up the world. Even though they hid their sharpness, their invisible auras made others retreat, not daring to stand together with them. They were like beggars not daring to sit together with a sovereign king. The leader was a woman in a plain red dress. She had a graceful figure, and her black hair fluttered in the wind, stirring up all sorts of flirtatious feelings, intoxicating one. Dragon Flame City. The woman in the red dress had a small, exquisite saber hanging at her waist. As she looked at the words Dragon Flame City, she said softly, This place is now the conferred land of the Yanwu dynasty's Soaring Dragon Marquis. He bestowed it to his most beloved daughter, Cluster Lord Goyu. Who knows how long this place has been here? To think that the aura of my dragon race still lingers. This is incredible. The few people discussed in soft voices. As they spoke, the information they revealed made everyone's hair stand on end. Horror filled their eyes. The dragon race. The dragon race's people are here at Dragon Flame City. Something major is going to happen. Quickly, let's go. No one on the city walls dared to sneak a peek at this group of people. They scattered in a fluster. Everyone felt their legs go weak. A handsome youth among them said politely to the woman in the red dress, Senior Sister Rua, news of an ancient dragon race totem came from this place. Chapter 1752. Lu Ryu. The red dress girl was Qingyun Peak's Lu Ryue. She was here to investigate the ancient dragon race totem. The totem was very important to any race. If the totem fell into the hands of another race, it would be disadvantageous to the dragon race. This was even true for the ancient blue dragon, an extinct race. Lu Ryue said softly, Junior brother Jiang, find out all the information within 1 hour. That handsome man smiled and said, There is no need for 1 hour. Give me 15 minutes, and it will be done. Lu Ryue frowned slightly. Jiang Cheng was a disciple of the white dragon race. He was very talented and had pretty good aptitude. After entering Ancestor Dragon City, the elders of the race had asked her to take care of this person. Everything about this person was good. However, he was somewhat arrogant and overbearing. He liked to use force to solve problems. In the end, Lu Ryue did not say anything. She led the others to an inn in Dragon Flame City to wait for news. Not long after, just as junior brother Jiang had said, he returned after a quarter of an hour. Senior Sister Lu, I already found out everything. Lu Ryue nodded and asked, What exactly happened? The disciple with the family name Jiang said, The rumor came from a cultivator called Xiao Chun. Everyone says that he has a dragon race totem. However, no one has seen him take it out. I only heard that he and some other cultivators saw a dragon race totem in one of the ancient dragon cities. Senior sister, it looks like this rumor is not reliable. How can my dragon race totem be something that outsiders can easily obtain? The totem's rejection of outsiders is extraordinarily strong. If it could be easily obtained, then this totem would be damaged already, and it would not be very important. Right after the disciple with the family name Jiang spoke, someone immediately calmly analyzed the situation. However, Lu Ruyue revealed a sullen expression. Then she whispered, Xiaochun? This name sounds familiar, but I can't recall who he is. Strange. The disciple with the family name Jiang revealed a strange expression. He smiled and said, Senior sister, regardless of whether he is familiar or not, I will capture this person and interrogate him. I'll capture this person and interrogate him. I'll be able to get to the bottom of everything. No. The matter is not clear yet. There is no need to make enemies. Who was the last to see this person? Bring me to him. The disciple with the family name Jiang nodded in agreement at Lu Ruyue's calm way of handling things. However, he did not think much of it. If I had known that senior sister would ask this, I would have already brought him here. Jiang Qing smiled faintly and clapped his hands. Feng Yuqiang appeared, feeling somewhat uneasy. Looking at the group of young men and women with extraordinary bearing, he felt a little guilty. Dragon Race. These were the top 100 of the Great Desolate Aeon's 10,000 races. Based on the aura of this group of people, it was clear that they were from the 6-colored divine dragons, possessing a venerated status. Even if it wasn't far off. He was no match for any one of them, not to mention that the other party had the colossal dragon clan behind him. To him, this was a completely different level of existence. Normally, he would not be able to come into contact with such high-level outstanding talents. Senior, were you the last person to see Xiaochun? Please tell me about him in detail. The totem is closely related to our dragon clan. We cannot be careless. Lu Ruyue looked at this old man and spoke calmly and politely, causing Feng Yuqiang to feel some fear and trepidation. Feng Yuqiang quickly bowed and said, I do not dare to address myself as senior. Just call me Old Feng. Jiang Cheng said with a sullen expression. This is our senior sister Lu, the holy daughter of the White Dragon race. You can just address the holy daughter as your highness. Tell me everything you know. You are not allowed to miss out on anything. Yes. Feng Yuqiang's voice trembled somewhat. He had not expected to get the chance to see the dragon race's holy daughter. Feng Yuqiang told Lu Ruyue everything about Xiaochun, everything that should be said and everything that should not be said. After Lu Ruyue heard that, her expression sank. Then, she looked at Feng Yuqiang and said, You want to defeat that Xiaochun with your strength? How bold of you to hide my dragon race's totem. I don't dare. Feng Yuqiang immediately felt a strong pressure bearing down on him. He quickly corrected himself, saying that he had been muddle-headed at that time and asking for forgiveness. Senior sister, it looks like whether there is a totem or not is still a mystery. We have to find this Xiaochun and interrogate him in person before we can find out. The person who calmly analyzed the situation earlier spoke again. Lu Ruyue nodded and said, All right, you handle it then. Although a totem that can be subdued will not be complete, we cannot be careless about this. Wait a moment. As Lu Ruyue spoke, she suddenly stopped. Earlier, that Feng Yuqiang said that this Xiaochun had defeated all the experts in Dragon Flame City within half a year. Furthermore, Xiaochun had defeated Feng Yuqiang in 10 moves. Although this Feng Yuqiang was trash in her eyes, he was still an early-stage star venerate, someone who could easily defeat him in 10 moves. Xiaochun definitely had some strength and talent. Perhaps she did not care about him, but her companions might not be able to keep an eye on him. If that Xiaochun sensed it and fled far away, it would be somewhat problematic to search for him. Junior brother Jiang, you will lead the team. You have to find this person. Remember, ask for the reason first. If you can avoid making a move, try not to. Jiang Qing nodded and said, Don't worry. Leave it to me. However, if we all go, what about you, senior sister? Lu Ruyue said sullenly, I need to find that underground dragon city and see if it is really an ancient city of my dragon race. All right. In that case, senior sister, take care. Just wait for our good news. Jiang Cheng's tone indicated that he was confident of finding Xiaochun, so he did not care too much about it. When Lu Ruyue saw Jiangqing acting like this, she could not help but feel a headache. She looked at the steadier disciple and said, Wusu, keep an eye on junior brother Jiang. After all, this is the Soaring Dragon Marquis's conferred land. I do not want to get into any unnecessary trouble with him. Right. Senior sister, don't worry. I believe that senior brother Jiang knows his limits. This group of people was very efficient. They left one after another to investigate Xiao Chen's whereabouts, leaving Lu Ruyue alone in the hall. Seeing that no one greeted him, Feng Yuqiang said somewhat nervously, Your Highness Holy Daughter, if there is nothing else, can this old man leave now? There's no rush. Lu Ruyue took a sip of tea. Now that there was no one else around, her expression relaxed, no longer as stern. Draw that Xiao Chen's appearance for me. I want to see this person. A martial artist's memory and observation ability were very strong. Even if they were not good at painting, as long as they saw it once, they would be able to recognize it. He could remember a person's appearance and temperament. Feng Yuqiang was a star venerate. Naturally, this matter did not pose a problem for him. After preparing the ink and paper, he finished drawing after a while. The white-robed Xiao Chen stood on the roof with his saber in hand. His long hair was a mix of black and white. His handsome face had a rather cold expression. Lu Ruyue waved her hand to dismiss Feng Yuqiang. She was entranced by the painting. The person in the painting was very familiar. However, Lu Ruyue could not recall when she had seen this person before. Xiao Chen in white. This long robe, this person, why do they feel so familiar? Lu Ruyue stared at the painting, feeling confused. Her face was filled with doubt. Of course he was familiar with it. The white robe was the clear breeze robe that she had personally given to Xiao Chen, and he had been wearing it all this time. Although the clear breeze robe was not a treasure tool, it had been an extraordinary secret treasure in the past. It could clean itself automatically and repair itself. As for the appearance, that was the person she loved. Over the past 10-odd years, his temperament had changed, but his appearance had not. How could she not be familiar with him? In the past, when she was young, she did not understand love. She only knew that one had to say one's love loudly. In the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, he once called out her name on a tall peak. All for the person he loved. He shouted out what he wanted to say in his heart. He would never forget the past of Qingyan Peak. He left the Kunlun realm to search for you. However, it seemed like Lu Ruyue could not remember the past. She looked at the painting in a daze, unable to recall anything. I must have remembered wrongly. I do not know this person. After a long time, Lu Ruyue concluded that she could not find this person in her memories. She was very confident in her memory. If she had seen this person before, she would definitely recall it. Since she could not recall it, she could only say that she had never seen this person before. I'll stop thinking about it. I'll go and search for the underground dragon city first. When junior brother Jiang brings this person back, I might be able to recall it. Lu Ruyue's expression returned to normal. Then, she put down the painting and stood up to leave. Just as Lu Ruyue was about to leave the hall, she paused for a moment and turned back. Then, she placed the painting in her storage ring before leaving. Chapter 1753. At this moment, Xiao Chen naturally did not know that the person he yearned for day and night had already arrived in the Soaring Dragon Great World. In Dragon Flame City, where he had stayed for more than half a year, a few days after he had left. But sometimes life was just so coincidental. Xiao Chen had been in Dragon Flame City for 8 or 9 months, but Lu Ruyue had not come. He had only been gone for 3 days, and Lu Ruyue came. Brushing shoulders was like this. After quietly sneaking into Soaring Dragon City, Xiao Chen spent half an hour, and arrived in the vicinity of the princess mansion in the city. The county lord's mansion was built in a grand and majestic manner. It occupied a vast area, and from afar, an invisible and majestic aura lingered above it. That was the luck of the dynasty. The Soaring Dragon Marquis was personally conferred a noble title by the Yinwu dynasty. Furthermore, he was a marquis. Naturally, with the protection of the dynasty's luck, The land where his children were infeft would naturally have some imperial dragon clouds. However, it was not as powerful and obvious as the soaring dragon Marquis Manor. However, those who were observant would be able to sense the dynasty's dragon clouds above the cluster lord's residence. Even though it was a meager amount, it was still enough to make one tremble with fear. Any major character who saw this formless dragon providence would give them some face and not barge in. As for the weaker characters such as holy venerates and sovereign personages, they did not dare to act rashly. But today Xiaochen was angry. On his way here, he was intercepted for no reason. He almost died, but he couldn't vent his anger or calm down. If he didn't get to the bottom of this, he would naturally feel indignant. If there was an opportunity to sneak into the county lord's residence, he would definitely not let it go. Although he was angry, Xiaochen was still cautious and did not act rashly. Just observing from afar, he didn't dare to approach rashly. That was because for many experts, even if you were 100 miles away, just a glance would be sensed by others. There must be such a person in the princess's mansion. However, Xiaochen was just a rank 1 major primal core venerate. The other party would not have imagined that a venerate would dare to make a move on the cluster lord's residence. Even if he did, he wouldn't care and would just ignore it. It was just like how an elephant would not care about an ant's opinion. However, this was precisely Xiaochen's advantage. It was also the reason why he dared to fight. Xiaochen sighed inwardly as he looked around in every direction. The princess's residence was indeed heavily guarded. Just the formations alone were stacked on top of one another, and no one knew how many there were. What was even more difficult to say was that there were experts overseeing every important road, and there was a large number of guards patrolling back and forth. There were no blind spots. In addition to the hired mercenaries, the experts of the county lord's mansion were stronger than most of the 4th grade sects. Are there no blind spots? Xiaochen did not believe it. The heavenly insight divine eye flew out from his glabella. The god's eye hung high in the sky, overlooking the entire princess residence, except for a few places hidden by special maze formations. Every flower, every blade of grass, every detail was clearly seen by Xiaochen. He didn't need to explore any secret places. He just needed to see if there were any flaws in the defense. Or it would be better to choose the place with the least risk. He could clearly see that there were many experts guarding the important places in the cluster lord's residence. Some of the outer areas were only patrolled by ordinary guards, but they were all set up with formations. If Xiaochen barged in, he would immediately trigger the formations and be discovered. Then he would raise the alarm and get caught by the many experts. No formation could be perfect and flawless. Naturally, the formations laid by the cluster lord's residence had gaps. However, it was made up of layers of formations that were stacked on top of each other, and several formations were constantly revolving. If the first layer had a gap, the second layer would patch it up. If the second layer had a gap, the third layer would patch it up. So on and so forth. There were a total of 18 formations layered over each other. Xiaochen made a quick count. As long as he broke through 9 formations, he would be able to enter safely. Xiaochen was not proficient in the formation Dao. However, he was proficient in the dragon-seeking art, and had some accomplishments in geomancy. He could see many clues from the many decorations in the cluster lord's residence. The fake mountains, pavilions, and winding corridors. Many of the seemingly ordinary buildings were the nodes of the formations. Using the heavenly insight, Xiaochen saw everything. Then he used the dragon-seeking art in the Paradise Secret Canon, and continuously calculated for 4 hours. After spending a lot of energy, Xiaochen finally figured out some patterns, gaining some confidence. Withdraw. The heavenly eye returned to Xiaochen's forehead. His eyes hurt slightly, so he closed them and rested for a while. The instant he opened his eyes, he gently pushed off with his feet and withdrew his aura. Then he soared into the air and flew towards the cluster lord's residence. This looked crazy and impossible. However, in reality, he was just a mere major primal core venerate. He did not have much of a presence near the cluster lord's residence. Even if someone sensed him, they would not care too much. This white-clad bladesman should have just arrived at the cluster lord's residence and lost his way. He hurriedly nodded in agreement and called out someone to lead the way for Xiaochen. However, in reality, Xiaochen's heavenly eye had already seen the cooling heart lake from outside. His strong state of mind allowed Xiaochen's expression to remain calm. Even after the group of guards left, his expression did not change. Along the way, he casually chatted with the guard who was leading the way. To his surprise, Xiaochen learned that Countess Goyu was currently meeting with an honored guest from the Soaring Dragon County. These guards had no idea who this mysterious person was, but judging from his demeanor, his status was definitely incomparably noble. Young master, the cooling heart lake is not far from here. I still have a mission to complete, so I won't be able to send you off personally. The guard said respectfully. Xiaochen nodded and gestured for him to leave. It was very troublesome to enter, but after entering, Xiaochen was quite relaxed. Because basically, no one paid attention to him or suspected him. There were even people who would kiss and nod their heads to greet him. Suddenly, Xiaochen looked around and saw a familiar face in the county lord's mansion. It's her. Xiaochen's gaze immediately turned somewhat gloomy. No wonder. Everything makes sense now. Chapter 1754. Boom. The other guards were still entangled with Xiaoyu the maidservant. They had no time to care about Xiaochun, so they did not notice anything strange. After a while he smiled embarrassedly and said, "Interesting. Why are you reacting so strongly? If you wanted it, I would have let you have it. However, you did not make a move. You have to know that many people are interested in the ancient dragon race totem. If not for giving Father Face, someone would have come here long ago to make a move. However, you did not make a move. Sooner or later, it would benefit others. Let me in. I want to see the Cluster Lord. I have urgent matters to discuss with the Cluster Lord." Lan Luo's eyes turned somewhat moist. She had never experienced such a strange emptiness and sadness before. Longbo smiled faintly and said, "It's fine. You may withdraw. You all have done well." Then he lowered his body and hid his aura. With a somewhat dazed expression, Lan Luo said, No wonder you kept me here, not letting me out." Seventh brother? The moment Lan Luo heard that, she completely erupted. She could no longer hide her killing chi. Longbo frowned slightly, feeling somewhat confused in his heart. What's going on? It seems like Lan Luo really wants to kill. At the entrance to the garden in front of Xiaochun, the maidservant Xiaoyu, who once served him in the Soaring Dragon Pavilion, walked quickly in a somewhat flustered manner. That was to say, Xiaoyu's cultivation was already much higher than Xiaochen's. He could not tell just from her aura. Xiaochen's spiritual sense turned into a thin line and entered through the cracks in the roof. Now that he thought about it, Cluster Lord Goyu had actually noticed him long ago. That man called Longbo was somewhat stunned. Unexpectedly, Lan Luo's reaction was so great. Xiaochen was startled. He could not make out this old man's cultivation at all. Based on her appearance, it seemed like Xiaoyu wanted to make a move and barge in. That mysterious honored guest's guard focused all his attention on the maidservant Xiaoyu. However, Xiaoyu did not mention the guard's obstruction. Instead, she answered, "Cluster Lord. Seventh Young Master sent out the 18 Dark Shadow Guards to kill Young Master Xiao. He even got people to block the way." The scene inside immediately appeared in Xiaochen's mind with a single glance. Clearly Lan Luo was very impatient. She said with a sullen expression, "What exactly do you want to say? Just say it directly. Stop trying to beat around the bush." It was Xiaoyu, the maidservant who served Xiaochun twice in the Soaring Dragon Pavilion. He didn't even notice that he was being followed. Who's up there? Only by seeing the other party in action would one be able to tell. Xiaochen's mind raced. The other party should be reporting to the princess now. Good news? In the shadows behind him hid an extremely inconspicuous old man. An opportunity? Lan Luo asked in shock when she noticed some wounds on Xiaoyu's body. Xiaochun recalled that Xiaoyu had mentioned several times back then, wanting to introduce him to the Cluster Lord. Lan Luo felt like a rock was pressing down on his heart, making him feel incredibly uncomfortable. Xiao Yu, why are you like this? This truly startled Xiao Chun, nearly exposing his aura. That woman was actually Lan Luo. The woman sitting beside the young man had exquisite facial features. Even though she wore gorgeous and noble attire, she could not hide her proud figure. Back then, Xiao Chun thought that it was a coincidence or fate. Now, it looked like it was just a premeditated plan. The 18 Dark Shadow Guards. Cluster Lord Goyu. This pavilion looks a bit like a temporary residence prepared for guests. This blow was simply too great, somewhat unbearable. Her body trembled slightly, and her complexion paled somewhat. However, the soaring dragon Marquis had many children. Whether he could inherit the Marquis's title or not was another matter. Two people sat on the host's seat, a man and a woman. Xiao Chun's body was as light as a swallow's. He swayed slightly, and his arms spread out. Then, he crossed 1 kilometer and silently landed on the pavilion's roof. There were black-clothed guards standing guard at the 4 corners of the pavilion. Their expressions were grave and stern, and their faces were filled with pride. Just at this moment, the pavilion's doors opened forcefully, and the maidservant, Xiao Yu, rushed in a fluster. Xiao Yu feared that she would not be able to hold back and directly attack. It turned out that this person was also the soaring dragon Marquis's son. No wonder he was so imposing and the guards were so arrogant. That guard showed a sullen expression, showing that he did not allow any room for negotiation. The maidservant, Xiao Yu, showed an anxious expression. She tried to barge in several times but was blocked. The atmosphere immediately turned tense. What are you doing? Even if it is the Cluster Lord's residence, we are not allowed to disobey 7th Young Master's orders. This was truly unexpected. To think that the other party had such an esteemed status. To think that she was the soaring dragon Marquis's most beloved daughter. When the maidservant thought of this, she could not help revealing some murderous intent in her eyes. When Lan Luo heard this, she immediately stood up. Then with a sullen expression she said in an extremely grave tone, "Longbow, scram far away. If I find out that you dared to touch that dragon race totem, I will immediately fall out with you." At this moment, Xiao Chun, who was on the roof, understood the cause and effect of the matter. "7th brother, why did you call me over?" After about 7 minutes, Xiao Chun followed Lan Luo from a distance to a pavilion in the Cluster Lord's residence. "It's her." Her chest was slightly open, purposely revealing a patch of snow-white skin. Her chest was half covered, attracting one's imagination and soul. Could it be that the news of me killing all 18 assassins has already spread? Lan Luo said with a sullen expression. "You don't need to care about my matters. If you dare to have any designs on that ancient dragon race totem, don't blame me for being rude." What's going on? However, what surprised Xiao Chun was that the maidservant, Xiao Yu, was blocked. Naturally, Xiao Yu knew about Xiao Chun's matters in Dragon Flame City and knew his whereabouts. "Young miss, please conduct yourself with dignity. 7th Young Master is currently in a meeting with the Cluster Lord. He strictly ordered that no one is allowed to approach." The man was elegant and handsome, and his face was full of nobility. He looked very young, no more than 25 years old. Lan Luo continued, "If anything happens to that person, there is no need for you to leave. You'd best pray that there is no good news. Keep an eye on him. From now on, do not allow him to take even half a step out of the pavilion." Lan Luo felt an emptiness in her heart. Once the 18 Dark Shadow Guards appeared, how could Xiao Chun possibly survive? After saying that coldly, Lan Luo waved her hand, no longer willing to see Longbow's face. It turned out that she had misunderstood Lan Luo. The one who wanted to kill her was this Longbow, the soaring dragon Marquis's 7th son. Chapter 1755. With just a trace of killing chi in Xiao Chun's eyes, the old man protecting Longbow in the dark immediately discovered it. With a war cry, the old man immediately attacked. Up on the roof, Xiao Chun quickly thought of countermeasures. Either fight or leave. However, leaving was clearly unrealistic. With his identity exposed, How could he leave the cluster lord's residence? In that case, there was only one option left. With this thought, Xiaochen attacked decisively, moving ahead of the old man. Xiaochen gently pressed his palm down, and he descended along with the roof tiles and beams. In the time it took for a spark to fly, Xiaochen dodged the old man's attack and charged at Longbow. The old man originally thought that after he discovered Xiaochen, he would definitely flee. He did not expect that Xiaochen would be so bold. Not only did he not flee, but he even charged down. His body happened to miss Xiaochen's. When Xiaochen reached the top of the building, he was already at the top of the building. The moment the old man reached the roof, Xiaochen had already landed and was charging at Longbow. Damn it! The old man flew into a rage. To think that he was fooled by a venerate. He roared furiously and turned around to grab Xiaochen. Longbow remained calm in the host's seat. He smiled coldly and said, "An insignificant venerate dares to attack me? You overestimate yourself." Longbow's forehead swelled up, and a vast will of soul immediately surged out. Without even thinking, Xiaochen activated the azure-colored dragon seal in his soul pool and released a bright light. The will of soul, which contained the divine might of the blue dragon, charged forward without any fear. Boom! The two wills of soul clashed without any suspense. Xiaochen's exquisite soul energy, which came from the faux god flame, supported the divine might of the blue dragon. The will of soul crushed Longbow's weak will of soul. Then it continued surging forward, firmly suppressing Longbow and preventing him from moving. All this happened in the time it took for a spark to fly. Nearly at the same time, the old man launched himself over. It looked like the old man would touch Xiaochen in the next moment and subdue him. "Stop. If you take another step, I will kill him." Relying on his will of soul, Xiaochen extended his hand and beckoned, controlling Longbow. Then he turned around abruptly. At this moment, the black-clad old man was only half a step away from Xiaochen. If he had been slightly slower, he would have been immediately restrained and killed on the spot. Release Lord 7 kill. Xiaochen squeezed Longbow's neck with one hand. When he exerted some force, Longbow's pale face immediately revealed a pained expression. The black-robed old man hurriedly retreated, not daring to move recklessly. At this moment, Xiaochen calmed down a little. That was close. The black-clad old man before him was actually a terrifying late-stage star venerate. This kind of existence only needed one move to crush him to death. Of course, that was provided that Xiaochen did not use the divine might from the faux god flame in his sea of consciousness. Xiaochen. Everything happened too quickly. The moment Xiaochen landed, a middle-aged man hidden in the dark shielded the cluster lord and retreated far away. When Lan Luo clearly saw Xiaochen's appearance, she let out a soft cry, revealing an expression of unconcealable joy on her face. Upon hearing Lan Luo's call, Xiaochen nodded slightly to indicate that he understood. "You are actually not dead? Where are my 18 dark shadow guards?" After learning Xiaochen's identity, Longbow was greatly startled. Not only did the person with the dragon race totem not die, but he also managed to escape. Not only did that person with the dragon race totem not die, but he even charged into the cluster lord's residence and restrained him. The development of the situation completely surpassed Longbow's expectations. "Xiaochen, don't be rash. Put him down. I'll help you deal with everything." After the pleasant surprise, Lan Luo calmed down. This was not the time to be happy. Xiaochen was here for revenge and had subdued Longbow. If he rashly killed Longbow, he would not be able to escape. If Lan Luo rashly killed Longbow, the consequences would be unimaginable. Her father would definitely be enraged. At that time, even if Xiaochen had extraordinary skills, he would not be able to survive. No, I can't let such a thing happen. Thinking of this, Lan Luo's heart raced again. She simply did not want to see the hope that just appeared shatter again. She absolutely could not let that suffocating, painful, and despairing experience from earlier happen again. She had to persuade Xiaochen to stop. A vicious look flashed in Longbow's eyes. After being restrained by Xiaochen, he felt restless. He said coldly, "Signorin, there's no need to care about me. Just make a move and kill this bastard. He will not dare to touch me." "Yes." A cold light flashed in the black-clad old man's eyes. Then his figure flashed as he launched himself over. Cassier. A crisp crack came from Longbow's neck. Then his entire head twisted to the back, and his body fell limply to the ground. If Xiaochen was going to die anyway, why would he be polite to him and just wait for death? Longbow had underestimated Xiaochen. He had never imagined that Xiaochen would be someone who dared to take such a huge risk and barge into the cluster lord's residence. How could Xiaochen be that kind of indecisive, wishy-washy person? The entire place fell deathly silent. The black-clad old man was stupefied. This was the seventh son of the soaring dragon Marquis. Why did this white-clad person kill Xiaochen on a whim? He did not hesitate at all, killing decisively and mercilessly. The black-clad old man was also naive. Why did Xiaochen hesitate? What did he hesitate for? He stood where he was and thought about it. Was he going to do nothing in the midst of conflict, and then get killed with one palm strike? Xiaochen was not that stupid. He would not be that stupid, and he would not be that weak. While everyone was stunned, Xiaochen turned around and left, quickly leaving this place. Young master? The black-clad old man shouted hoarsely as he knelt beside Longbow's limp body in a fluster. His voice contained some despair. As Longbow's personal guard, he had failed to protect his master. Naturally, he would not be able to escape death. He clearly understood how horrifying the soaring dragon Marquis was. At this moment, only fear and despair remained in his heart. Xiao Yu passed down my orders. Let young Master Xiao leave. No one is to stop him. Yes. Lan Luo sent a voice projection, feeling slightly disappointed. This time, Xiaochen did not listen to her again. She felt some heartache, but she could not explain why. Big brother Bai, take a look and see if my seventh elder brother can be saved. As Lan Luo looked at Longbow's corpse, she also felt startled. Who could have expected Xiaochen to be so decisive? There's no need to look. He won't die. However, his will of soul shattered first, and he lost so much life force. Even if he is saved, he will be a cripple, and it will be hard for him to recover. That middle-aged man's eyes were like torches. With just one glance, he clearly analyzed Longbow's situation. After all, Longbow was a person on the verge of death. His aura had not yet ended, and his soul had not scattered. Before Xiaochen could deal another heavy blow, he had to leave this place. Longbow managed to keep his life. The process of leaving the cluster lord's residence was much easier than Xiaochen expected. He did not use the divine might that he originally intended to use. He did not even draw the tyrant saber. After thinking for a while, Xiaochen understood the reason. Lan Luo must have arranged it. Now I owe her 2 favors. Xiaochen sighed in his heart as he arrived on the street. Xiaochen entered deep thought as he headed for the Smiling Daughter Pavilion. He definitely could not remain in Soaring Dragon City for long. He would have to find another place to sell off some of the treasures that he originally planned to sell. There was no rush. After all, they were all rare natural treasures. There was no need to worry about not being able to sell them. Xiaochen was in a good mood. This was how he had always been, repaying kindness with kindness and grudges with grudges. He was decisive in killing and quick in settling grudges. If a gentleman could take revenge overnight, he would not wait 10 years. In life, if one was afraid of everything, thinking about this and that, what was the point of living? Xiaochen did not feel any psychological burden when he personally killed Longbow firstly. The other party had already sent out assassins on the way here, wanting to take his life. Even after being controlled by Xiaochen, the other party had overestimated themselves and wanted to continue killing him. One could only say that one would not die if one did not seek death. Killing Longbow would not leave behind any mental barriers for Xiaochen. Without venting his anger, he would find it hard to calm down. Since Xiaochen had vented his anger, his heart naturally calmed down. Right now he only wanted to find a place to have a good drink. Naturally, the Smiling Daughter Pavilion was his first choice. Furthermore, he could ask about headliner Ling Long and his martial nephew Ling Yu. After a while, Xiaochen arrived at the Smiling Daughter Pavilion. At this moment, the night sky was hazy. Dragon Flame City was brightly lit. This should have been when the Smiling Daughter Pavilion's business was at its peak. However, when Xiaochen arrived, he felt only desolate. However, he only felt that it was cold and quiet. It was not as lively and noisy as when he first came here. The Smiling Daughter Pavilion seemed to have declined. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.